all at the same time. You know, that's just like our normal daily life. But when you're sitting in the juror's seat, you have nothing. You have nothing. You are the definition of a captive audience, because there's nothing else to capture your attention. It's just the person that is sitting on the witness stand and the lawyer that is asking him or her questions. So yeah, but I think in this particular case, I mean, defense is doing a great job, even with that being a shorter testimony that I think kind of would help the prosecution. I don't think it makes a difference at the end of the day.
And I'm joking, of course. Your overall assessment is right. It's just that the defense was prepared 100%.
Oh my God, yeah.
The prosecution, to be fair, they made a very clean direct examination. They skipped the frivolity and they went right for your medical training and all that, and then went into the meat of it. The problem was, I mean, the meat of it leaves so much on the table.
Well, and here's the thing: is where are we going to go?
There's a lot of fat on that meat.
Yeah, exactly, and it's already been cooked. It's already been cooked by Sharfisi. Like, where are they going to go? This is I'm thinking here, like, how is he going to deal with? Binger cannot deal with all of this on redirect. I mean, he may be able to come in and massage 1 or 2 points, but there's so much in here that some of it you've just got to move past. It's done, it's out there, and you just move past it because it is what it is, and there's no way you can spin it. Even Littlefinger can't spin that web.
And look, Binger has been through 13 jury trials, and because he's a prosecutor, he's won most of them. Prosecutions tend to win jury trials in the majority of cases, because let's be honest, most people going through the criminal justice system have some level of guilt, so they win jury trials with relative frequency. He's done 13 of them. I don't know how many Big Boy has done, because he has been a district attorney in Kenosha longer, quite a bit longer than Binger has. Between them, you are trained and practice or whatever at jury trial to keep a poker face. You do not want the jury looking at you and drawing. Look at their reactions. They are devastated by what's going on. They see their case on fire harder than a Kenosha business right now. And if I'm in cross, I'm actually dropping that line. You can look at the prosecution's face. They're watching their case go up like a Kenosha business right now. That's why I'm not actually on defense. But that is what's happening. You can see it. You can see them dying in real time. They know this. They know this is their best witness. They're probably going to end their case in chief with this witness. If they have someone else, they haven't indicated it publicly. It may be on the witness list. I don't know. But they haven't indicated it publicly. There's really no one else to bring. Based on the admission of the facts that Kyle definitely shot these guys. They don't have to
Nick,
prove that.
Probability, this is what I want to ask you and Alita, is what do you think the probability of a directed verdict here is after they rest their case in chief?
It's climbing by the day.
I think so.
When people first asked about something like this, I'm like, no. I mean, come on. This is a murder trial. These are fact questions for the jury about, state of mind and all that. Now, I mean, the state's case has laid out self-defense, and to the credit of Richards and Sharafsi, they have expertly laid out with this witness. By the way, you were afraid for Kyle, weren't you?
Yeah.
And then you decided,
with your experience and your expertise as an EMT, you understand that hitting someone over the head with a skateboard, that puts someone at great risk, right?
Head trauma.
Oh yes. And he was the one that volunteered the term head trauma. They didn't ask for it. No one said head trauma before he did. So that was powerful.
That was amazing. To the chat, and this is why this is really important. Directed verdicts are judgments as a matter of law. They're not on a jury. Juries are there to decide facts, and then the judge applies the law to the facts. If the jury determines a set of facts that leads to guilt, then the judge will apply those facts to the law and prescribe a verdict of guilty. That's how that works. When you're asking on a directed verdict, you're not asking a jury. You're asking a judge to say, this is the factual basis to support the legal conclusion that there is a reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the client, and that's all you have to do. And I say that's all you have to do. Most directed verdict motions are completely ignored. They're denied out of hand, and it's not a big deal. This case has such a poor fact pattern for the state that a directed verdict, when you say based on your training and experience, the state has called this person, the state has testified to their training and or has elicited the training and experience out of them, and then for them to go back on that and say, yeah, I was actually scared for him. You go straight to the objective reasonableness of his fear of shooting Huber. When you've got Richie McGinnis on the stand saying, well, he screamed, fuck you, and reached for the gun. You're going directly to objective reasonableness for fear of imminent death or bodily injury, or imminent death or bodily injury of the people around you. Remember, if Rosenbaum or Huber gets the gun, you know, he's not necessarily going to shoot Kyle. He could shoot anybody. He could fire off into the crowd. Everybody becomes in danger when there's a struggle over a gun. When you have the DNA expert testifying that, yeah, he is indeed grabbing the gun in that picture. I'm the state's witness. That is a picture that is true. I'm looking at it. He's grabbing it, and our DNA evidence is inconclusive as to whether or not he grabbed it. You have another big set of reasonable doubts facts, and I think they've nailed it on all three of these people, and we could really see on at least the murder charges directive verdicts on this. I want to couch that and say I still think the judge is going to deny it, but we're above an insignificant chance at this point to see it.
Yeah.
We've moved from possibility to plausibility, which is like a giant threshold. Like it's to the point where you could go to Vegas and bet on this and you might hit.
Yes. Yeah. You're not betting on 0 or 00 anymore.
Yes.
Now you're betting on like a set of numbers.
Like even.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why they might not go for a directed verdict, I would wonder would be because of the local political fallout. The judge might be concerned about something like that. It might be better for it to go to a jury of peers, because then it's a lot easier to say, look, like this was not some corrupt judge, or some judge who was making rulings in favor of the defense or something like that. This was an actual jury of his peers that determined that he was acting in self-defense.
Yeah.
No, I could also see this judge being the honey badger and just not giving a shit, just being like, you know what, this is it. Because if any judge is going to be it, it'll be this judge. Any judge.
It's important to note that at the time all this happened, they haven't hit this part of it yet because it's really not as important. And if they have a couple questions for him, maybe this is what they're around. Gage Grosskreutz is no longer an EMT. I think someone in the chat has pointed out that his EMT registration expired in 2017, which means he is 3 years removed from being an active EMT. He did testify on the stand that he was only an EMT in an ambulance for 1 year.
Right.
And the cross-exam may be waiting to ask those questions because they're seriously the lowest. But this guy has an expired EMT registration. He has an expired concealed carry. He's acting as an EMT, and he's acting as a self-defense believer, and yet he's also testifying. And I imagine this will come up too. Although I don't know if they've got so many wins, they may be confused on what to do when they come back from lunch. But they may bring up the fact, really hammer on, you said you weren't there why are you carrying a gun? You said you would never fire the gun to harm someone because that would violate your core ethics as an EMT. Your EMT license expired before your concealed carry license, right? You go ahead and I don't know how you approach this questioning specifically, this one way, and you say, you didn't actually have those standards because you're carrying a gun. Of course you plan to use it. And he did get there a little bit with, you're drawing a gun that you say you're not going to use. And you let the jury just simmer on that because there's nowhere for him to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been pausing at all the right times, and letting them digest it, letting them sit on it. His pace has been great. I mean, it's been something that you can follow. That's always something that I think about. Can I follow this? Am I logically into this? Just like with an opening or a closing, and it's something that, for me, looking at it, even if I was a juror, not a lawyer, I'd be able to follow this clearly. And he's just caught him in kind of lie after lie, especially with the chasing thing. Just at some point, just yield on that because they've got the evidence.
Yeah, and he said I'm not chasing him. I'm not chasing him. I'm not chasing him. And then he just
didn't want to use the word chase because he knows how that sounds. But there's no way he knew that there was no way that factually he could get around the fact that he was running in the same direction as Kyle Rittenhouse and after him and in the same direction. But by trying to sort of deconstruct that and be like, well, it wasn't chasing. I just happened to be running in the same direction. It makes him look like he's trying to get out of it. He's trying to be evasive, and it doesn't play out well in front of a jury.
And there are better ways to do it. I wasn't chasing him. I was concerned for him, so I followed as fast as I could.
Right.
Something like that.
He could have tried to add that in. He could, because it's like that. There are some people that are very good on cross-examination. That, obviously on cross, the attorney that is doing the cross-examination wants the witness to just say yes or no, because that helps with their rhythm. It helps them get to the next question. It helps them tell the narrative that they want to tell. And a good witness is going to be on cross-examination, is going to sort of fight them on that every once in a while and kind of try to add in more sentences, sort of lengthen things out and sort of disrupt that flow. McGinnis did a good job of that. I was going to say, on his direct examination, it feels weird, but it kind of turned into a cross-examination on direct because that's how the prosecution was treating him. But in this particular case, he totally could have said, I wasn't chasing him. I was running after him out of concern because he was one piece of this puzzle, and I wanted to make sure that everyone knows okay, or something along those lines.
Guys, we have another addition. This is someone who has never been on the stream before, and I want to really welcome him. He is a Canadian attorney, but also a firearms attorney, if I'm not mistaken. He can correct me on that. Up in Kanukistan. And I'm happy to welcome to the show Runkle of the Bailey. He's also another YouTuber, and you should check out his channel. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all. I'm really sorry to hear that your chat. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I got to turn you down a bit because I have us all turned down for the video, but you're
sure.
Good. Sorry.
I gotta say, I'm sorry to see that your channel is going to get demonetized because I don't think you could play somebody getting effed that hard on a live stream. That was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was an expert cross. That's the only way to say it. It was an expert cross.
I think that's going to show up in law school classes. If you want to see how to do a cross, that was exactly what they needed to do. Just came in fast and hard, and I don't think there was any wasted questions there. I was sort of watching to see if you've got those questions where you're trying to get to the point and losing the jury. It seemed like everything he asked, he either landed a really good admission or caught him in a lie, or got him to lie further, which was then lining up for something else. It was that was crisp. I liked it.
How about those admissions on the civil lawsuits? So you omitted a material.
What?
What is that?
I don't know.
That's not me.
That's not me
either.
I don't think that's me. I'm on a.
That's literally on the Law and Crime live stream.
They're playing like old show tunes. Like, what are we doing right now?
Holy shit! Like, are they trying?
At this point, really, what they should be playing is Sarah McLachlan for the prosecution.
They should be. Look, I've heard. We've got some prominent people. Jack Posobiec and Cat Turd are tweeting out clips of the stream and stuff like that. Actually, courtesy of Viva Fry, who tweeted it out originally. They're retweeting him. So maybe Law and Crime saw it and they're doing something about the dead air, but I don't know. Like I'm joking. It sounds like they just they're gonna have an hour of nothing, so they want to make sure people know that the video is going. I think, but man, whew. Sorry, that was so disruptive. I forgot where we were.
Yeah, I just don't know what to expect, like, coming off of that. Like, it's almost like we hit a high, and I'm like, I don't know where we go from here, but I'm strapped in for the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm confused. He did say he only has a couple questions, but I mean, you can tell. So you tier your questions in order of importance. He got the most critical things ever out of this. I asked about the civil suit. Runkle, I was curious of your opinions on how he basically impeached the complaint section of his civil suit.
I think his civil lawyer's probably just sitting there very unhappy going, okay, well, not only did he get slaughtered in this cross-examination and, his claim is going to be undermined by all of the admissions that have been dragged out of him here. Yeah. But also this suggestion here that's been made that I don't think he's going to be able to escape is that this is, that he's tailoring his evidence for profit. That's going to be what's with the jury. And when he gets to his civil suit, he's going to have a real hard time escaping this notion of, listen, you were willing to tell all sorts of, false statements. And there's how much money on the line? What are you willing to do for a buck?
And when you submit a complaint, that complaint is effectively under oath. Now, you get some privilege to kind of tweak your story to your own benefit, but omitting a material fact in that complaint of I had a gun and was running towards him. I mean, you're talking. So his civil suits are blaming the city of Kenosha for a failure of duty to protect, which is a long shot suit already. And if the city of Kenosha is smart, they will not settle with this guy. But
now.
Yeah, right. Now after today's testimony.
He had a chance before, and I would say even politically, perhaps, depending on the climate. I know certain jurisdictions, because I work with a lot of governments that just settle it quietly and make it go away. Right? It's a political issue. They settle it quietly, make it go away. Right? There's certain thresholds. The insurance will pay it out. It's totally settle it, let it go away. But now, I mean, they can't, because it's out there. It's out there that it's a BS complaint. So now, if they settle it, the political fallback will be on Kenosha. So they have impetus to not settle it.
It's out there under oath and recorded, and one of the most broadcasted trials of recent memory. I mean, Chauvin was a highly publicized trial. This is a highly publicized. I mean, for reference, by the way, shout out to the chat. We've got over 19,000 people watching on my channel, which is I've worked hard on it, but it is still a humble channel. And we're not talking that this is Crowder or Shapiro or something streaming this. This is just little old me. We've got 19,000 people out there watching. That should tell you how many people are actually watching this trial. It is a very big deal right now.
There's a lot of interest on this.
I think at this point he'll be lucky if he even gets a nuisance offer. Even just like the standard, here's $1,000, go away. I don't think they're even going to do that just for the optics of it. I think they're just going to say, listen, you get nothing, go away. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
And enjoy the fabulous prizes you won at this particular event.
And really, here's the other thing that they'll say in that offer. And if you proceed in this course of actions, we'll introduce his statements under oath and show the judge in the federal case that he omitted material facts. We'll ask to dismiss under Iqbal versus Twombly, or Iqbal and Twombly, and we'll then move for sanctions. So
otherwise known as Quickball.
Yeah. Just so you know, I mean, we will. If you go on, you can, but we will move for sanctions for misrepresentations to the court. And if you want to ask how that's going, ask Sidney Powell. Things did not work out well when your complaint involves misrepresentations of material fact. These are not minor mistakes. you had a gun, it's on video, and you omitted that.
Right. And that's the thing too, is that in a case where there's so much video and so many photos, like you have to know that that's going to come out at trial. You have to know it's going to be used. So
Yeah.
you would think that they would play it much more safely than that.
Unless
Well,
you're
no.
moving for a media strong arm push.
Yes. And look, they knew, like I was saying, they knew as soon as he brought up that footage. Oh, I had the footage the entire time. You knew there was something in there. You knew he was calling him. You know, he like called it. Was it a what name did he call him? He
Boogaloo
called him
Boys.
Stooge.
Yeah,
Boogaloo
the
Boys called him a
Stooge.
stooge. Yeah, he was already in that attacking Kyle verbally before the incident even happened, right? So you knew there was stuff like that in the video. It's inevitable, right? These people get worked up. They're the ones who are the agitators, and that's the whole narrative that we've been lied to by the mainstream media. We've been gaslit throughout this, that it was the Boogaloo Boys and the far right that have been going crazy and pushing this. But you see the people that are trying to escalate it, and it's the Rosenbaums of the world, right? It's not the Kyle Rittenhouses.
Exactly, and they excellently managed that. So you said this about him, right? At that
Yes.
point, you hadn't seen him threaten anyone, you hadn't seen him confront anyone, you hadn't seen him do anything. He hadn't raised his gun, he hadn't raised his voice. Like, no. It's like, and it just tells the jury, this guy was immediately hostile to this person, and you know, he has no credibility on these issues.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I just thought of as you were talking, is the fact that he initially was trying to struggle against Sheriff Easy. That he was trying to fight him on, you know, especially on the word chase. That was one thing that he really did not want to admit to. But then over time, it's like you could see that he kind of just like whipped him into submission. That he was just like, yep, that's what it was. Yep, you see my gun pointed at him. Yep, you see the pink mist coming from my arm as my gun is pointed at him. You know, whereas he had an opportunity to actually kind of say, well, you know, from that angle, it kind of looks like it, but actually it was, you know, to the right. I didn't have it pointed directly at him. He could have tried to fight on that, but he was already like whipped into submission and just saying, he kind of just gave up. He realized that the goose was cooked.
And that's important to breaking up the flow. That's why we talk about objecting to break up the flow, because there's a human lizard brain thing. When we start saying yes, we are more likely to say yes, right? So you get somebody saying yes, they're just going to keep saying yes, right? And he ended up saying yes, and it screwed his entire case over.
And what you're talking about there is we commented, trying to be as fair as possible. Binger needs to be objecting to some of these questions. I mean,
The
he's
one's
objected
asking about his conversations with his attorney. I was surprised that he didn't object to those.
Yeah, these are clearly privileged conversations. And the funny thing is, the way that privilege works, you can actually forfeit it forever based on any conversation around those issues. So we know that he's been talking about civil issues. It seems like his refusal to provide information was in consideration of a potential civil suit. And now he may have, again, this is going back to what these civil lawyers on the other side of these cases are thinking. They may have opened the door to the disclosure of any text messages on the day, or any text messages or communications he had with his attorney on this day or that day, because he's effectively disclosed that they had communication specifically about this consideration, and that can defeat privilege. Now, it doesn't defeat all of the privilege ever. You know, if it's a week later, maybe not, but they can push the bounds of it.
Yeah.
But does it defeat white privilege, Nick?
Nothing defeats white privilege.
My take on this witness is that he's one of these guys who thinks he's smarter than he is and really feels that that's important, that people see that. And so what he's running into is a lawyer who's really well prepared and is not letting him get away with any of these lies and is embarrassing him each time. And so once he's been embarrassed like that a few times, he doesn't want that to happen again. And so he knows he can't lie anymore, or he's going to get humiliated. And at this point, he's just getting steamrollered. And it's a beautiful thing to watch when you see that, you know, the defense lawyers managed to put him in that box. And it's right where he needs him to be.
Yeah.
The law and crime coverage of this just ended.
Uh-oh.
They're going to start a new live stream. I hate that they do that. Just leave it running. But whatever. Maybe they're smarter than I am. And so they cut them down into segments. I do not. We run the duration here.
The full marathon.
We're doing it live.
Doing it live. No, it's so today I expected to not again, the way Binger has been conducting this case, the way he has been dragging out witnesses that are basically irrelevant. I mean, he had Corey Washington on the stand for something like 3 to 4 hours. When you really get down to it, he had Corey Washington, who had almost nothing relevant to say, on the stand for I think it was 3, and it may have been 4 hours. He had Gage Grosskreutz on the stand for 2 hours. This is their star witness. Now, I know they wanted to focus in on it, but based on how their trial has been going, I expected a drawn-out, several-hour testimony. I didn't think we would even get to cross today with objections and other things. I thought they would inflate it out and just give the jury their entire first day of red meat for the state. That was my thought on it. They didn't do it. But so I expected kind of a hard day for the defense where they're fighting an uphill battle of the state's narrative. Turns out the state has gifted them pre-lunchtime of victory. They're going to come back from lunch. They're going to continue cross-examining this guy. Someone brought up that there may actually be another state witness. They may, and we may not hear it, they may recall the FBI agent back into the courtroom because now they suddenly have the mystery HD footage that they definitely had deleted. So we may actually see that guy come in to add that HD footage to the record.
I think, cynically speaking, your approach is a much better one because this witness has so many bad things about them. It would almost be better to just drag him out until the jury is just tired of hearing him. Like, do a full day and a half of just this guy until they're so bored of his existence that you might mute across just because they're like, we don't care what he has to say anymore. He's at the end of the day, he's just toxic.
And let the jury forget that the guy said that he said these specific things the day before. If
so
they
it's not half an hour ago?
Right. If they would have known, and they should have known, because again, we got to go back to the beginning of this. This case is built on bad facts and a legal uphill battle for the state. They've got bad facts and they've got bad laws. So all they've got is pound emotions, pound the table, so to speak. Make a big show. It's why they brought in Corey Washington. That's why they brought in all of the cops that they brought in. That's why they brought in a DNA expert who's not necessary for any factual statement on the record. They
actually
want
ended up
bloat.
helping. She actually ended up helping.
They want the bloat. They want the bloat. That's what they've been going for. So, if you're going to have a guy, Gage, you have to know Gage is going to be a disaster on stand. If anything goes wrong with it, like maybe in a perfect world, he's great. And his opening probably 30, 40 minutes of testimony is very good about him being a medic and all of that stuff. He looks very, he looks a little manic, but he looks professional. He's calm and collected about his experience. He's able to recall it very quickly. So he's doing well, and he's humanizing with the jury at first. He's doing this number, and it looks okay. Once he gets to cross, you have to know if anything goes wrong, this guy's going to break apart. This is a revolutionary. This is someone who has spoken. How many communist rallies have you guys spoken at this month? I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10,
negative 20.
Like, are we on May Day level here? Like, where are we at? You know, like.
No.
You know this guy is reactionary. Hell, how many? And if you guys don't want to answer this, I'll answer first. My answer is 0. How many rallies and protests have you ever attended in your entire life?
I don't really know, to be fair, because my parents took me to a lot of Bring Down the Soviet Union protests when I was a kid, so...
Well, that makes a little more sense. Those are... Those are based in red-pilled Iron Curtain.
Ban the Soviets from the LA Olympics. Actually, no, that was, I think, before I was born. Anyway, but, those kinds of protests.
Yeah, if you count going to church when I was a kid as literally a rally, because it's obviously the cause. But other than that, I've never been to a political rally.
Yeah. Runkle, you any?
I think there was something around firearm issues that I attended. Not a whole lot of protests. I mean,
Right. So again, you've got someone who is willing to not only attend a protest, to attend a protest at night after 2 nights of looting and burning. No, and he's already testified that he came from the Milwaukee George Floyd protests, which involved looting, burning, an injured police officer by gunfire. I mean, these are not like peaceful white bread American people running around like, oh, I go to the grocery store, I pick my kids up from their soccer practice, and then I go protest police violence with fire and Antifa masks. That's not your average experience. And so you have to know as a prosecutor, you got this guy on stand, he is a hot button. He's a reactionary. He is an outrage pornographer in his own right. Like, and that's fine, but that's who you've got on the stand. If he breaks down, if he gets emotional, your whole case could go up, and that's what happened. It's exactly what happened.
You're kind of using his own ego and his own beliefs against him, right? Because the whole thing with the head trauma, like it's playing into the EMT thing, right? He's asserted himself as a bit of an expert there, so he's like, I've got to show my expertise. I've got to talk about head trauma, and he seems like a guy who's like, oh well, I stand for my beliefs. So yeah, I'll admit I went to a rally, and I said, long live the revolution, or whatever the hell commie other.
I'm not a member, but I am affiliated.
Yes, I'm a card-carrying member, but I only go on Tuesdays.
I can't believe he said he was affiliated. Why would you say you're not a member? You're affiliated, though. She's like, nah, no, not really. I
was asked to speak at a thing, and I did, and that was the one time I did it, and I'll never do it again. I don't know.
Yeah, you could say literally anything. No, I mean I spoke at a thing. If you're speaking in court, are you affiliated with the state? Are you people speak at things that they're not affiliated with because that's how speaking engagements go. Hey, we like what you say. You want to come to our thing? Sure. You don't have to be affiliated with them. And the fact that he said affiliated, I think right after saying he wasn't a member, again, it goes right to his credibility in a way that it's just a pointless concession for the state side on this.
you can watch all these times where he's sort of trying to think his way out of things, and he's not as smart as he thinks he is, over and over, where he comes up with this flimsy lie and then it falls apart on him so fast. And always, like that example of him bringing up the head trauma, it's all part of that. He thinks he's super smart, and he's in a room full of people who are smarter than he is and have had nothing but time to prepare.
Yeah. Oh, and I just remembered. Thank you. You reminded me of my previous monologue about why the head trauma was important. I never finished that thought, and I'll make it brief. We're talking about directed verdicts and how facts and law apply. Head trauma, as a matter of law, is serious bodily injury. It meets the standard for a justification for self-defense. If you have any level of significant head trauma, because head trauma can be a permanent brain injury very easily. It can also mean death if things go just a little bit off. So if someone takes, if someone punches you in the face, typically you're not in danger of death, although you could be if you have like a glass skull sort of idea. But if someone is inflicting trauma through like a glass bottle, a baseball bat, a drinking glass, you hit someone with a drinking glass in the head, something like that, you're talking about a potential skull fracture, a brain injury, and that is self-defense justified as a matter of law. That's why that is such a critical fact that the EMT, the only certified medical expert that we've had so far, brought by the state and is a complaining witness, just admitted that, yeah, I was afraid for a traumatic head injury to Kyle Rittenhouse. You couldn't have asked for a better answer.
Right.
No.
Other than he was literally trying to murder him. Maybe that was
Which they've literally almost gotten, that multiple people were coming after him. Even the fact that when he was resisting the chasing, he admitted that other people were chasing him and he was following them. So it's like, okay, from an outside perspective, if you were an objective person looking at this crowd, would you say that everybody looks like they're chasing? Okay, yeah, thank you. We're done. Like, it's just,
right.
This guy, thing after thing, line after line, he doesn't realize it, but it's exactly what Ian said. He thinks he's smart, but other people are smarter than him.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, even if you think you're smarter than all the lawyers in the room, remember that this is what they've been paid thousands of dollars to do for the last several months. I mean, if you're following this case at all, you know that Kyle Rittenhouse has raised a $2 million bail. Free Kyle, that was first, and then I believe Free Kyle USA Barnes, before he was disassociated with them, had reported they'd raised over $650,000 for their defense. This defense is operating on golden skates. They know they can expend any amount of time, and you have to assume that they've expended at least a good portion of it, literally just preparing to ask you a question. And the one thing that is from one of the best videos out there, it's the Rutgers University lecture of Don't Talk to the Police. The second lecturer was a police officer, and he said, I have given hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of interviews. You have never sat through one once. I'm better at it than you. No. And Gage Grosskreutz, he may have been on the stand for his previous conviction or whatever. He has not done as many cross-examinations or even as many interviews as Shirafisi or Richards. These guys have both been lawyers for a long time. And someone said Shirafisi used to be an ADA prior to this, which means he
seems like it.
Yeah, and which it means these guys have done this hundreds and hundreds of times, and Gage maybe has done it once. You may be smarter than them. You're not more prepared than them.
The thing I wonder is EMTs do end up sometimes as complaining witnesses. So that may have happened before. Somebody made a spit on him or something like that, and they get charged. He comes in as a witness. But he's not going to ever face this kind of cross. Because if somebody, spits on you in an ambulance ride, it's going to be like, okay, was it intentional? Was it, it's not going to be this sort of, you are the bad guy here kind of cross.
Right. Yeah, you're the medic, and someone spit on you because they're having an episode or something.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be a gentle cross just by nature, because the medic in that situation is coming off as a hero. And you're not going to be able to displace that. You can't make that person into the villain in that case. So really what you have to do is you are mistaken, right? I mean, this guy was, he's coughing, maybe some spittle landed on you, but it wasn't intentional, right? But this is just, you are here to do wrong. You're here to do ill, to cause problems. You armed yourself for that purpose, and you are a liar. Because everything you've told us is BS. That's a whole different kind of cross. And there's no way he's faced that before.
Yeah, and the second, his biggest mistake was saying, I would never. I don't know if it's his biggest mistake, but it's a huge one. I would never shoot someone, even in self-defense. Because all of the jury
why
asked
do you
exactly what you just asked, Runkle. Exactly. Why on earth did you have a gun? And then why did you draw it? Like, I guess maybe if you're, and it's concealed. So it's not like he's open carrying as a general deterrent. I could actually see someone saying, yeah, I open carry as a general deterrent, but I don't keep my gun loaded, or I don't keep the round chambered, because I really don't want to end up in a situation where I shoot someone. That would go against my core beliefs. And so, I just do it so that people know, hey, someone here is armed, and I feel like it calms people down. You could reasonably make that claim. You've got a chambered round, you drew the gun, and you're drawing it on the person, and you're saying, oh, I would have never shot him. And they're about to really kill him on this next statement where he said, you wish you would have shot him a whole lot.
Yeah. And in the interim, showing that not only did he have the gun in his hand, but he had it pointed right at him as he was getting shot himself. Right after he had this whole emotional display about well, I would never do that because it's against my core beliefs. The jury, it's so close together. The jury doesn't have much time to forget what he previously said, because it was very emotional, right? So how could they not have that in their head when they're seeing this image that shows exactly the opposite? It's so effective.
I might actually start taking him into whether he's ever had any gun safety courses, because either he says no, in which case he looks maybe a little unhinged, or he says yes, and then you can say, isn't one of the important rules of gun safety that you never point a gun at something you're not about to destroy?
Right.
And so, so either are you behaving unsafely with this gun, or were you about to shoot Kyle?
Right.
And either, I mean, it's one of those sorts. I don't know if he needs to, because everything else he's got is just gold, and this might be fishing in sort of a less interesting pond. But it's one of those questions that I kind of like, because either way they answer it, they're unhappy.
Right now, Sherfisi and Richards are literally at Wonka Factory. And they say, okay, you've taken the full tour, you've seen everything. What do you want to go eat now?
Yeah.
And they're like, God, I don't know, right? Like they
But Nick, do
They
you
have
think
so much-
do you think the everlasting gobstopper is the defamation cases that are going to roll after this? All those people who
That's a
spread those false
good
facts.
way to do it.
All those people who spread those false facts. In fact, I was talking to Nate about this. The Young Turks rolled back their statement about
They
crossing
did.
state lines and made a very explicit statement about it, because I think they fear those defamation lawsuits that are rolling out after Kyle is innocent.
They may have gotten a retraction demand. They may have literally gotten a retraction demand by email or by mail from whoever's going to head up the civil case. And yeah, they rolled back that. Although Anna Kasparian, in rolling back her statement, makes a subsequent false statement, which was hilarious.
I know.
That made me happy. Ian, you were about to say something?
Is that the clip where she says, "Listen, I didn't know that Rittenhouse was being chased by Rosenbaum"?
Yes.
That just astounded me, because it's like, you've been coming out there with all these like real strong takes on this, and
Yeah.
this was known from like a week after this. Like, the video clips of Rittenhouse running as fast as he could were
Yeah.
out there. So coming out
Emily!
and saying, "I didn't know that he was running out there," was just like, then why should anybody listen to any of your opinions?
Exactly. What's up, Emily Baker?
Yo, Emily.
Not much. I see Legal Bites getting like food from heaven happening over there. It's like
I know.
food from above.
I know it's been wine, it's been beer, it's been Oreos now.
I love
just-
all of that.
So that everyone that's watching right now, I am not some weird alcoholic. It's much later where I am right now.
I
come on
take
now.
offense.
Come on
Curtis,
now.
I am not like
weird
Nick
alcoholic
Ricada, you
like
guys.
Nick.
What are you talking about?
She's like, it's nighttime where I am. It's nighttime where I am.
It is.
Oh.
It is.
I've got water because I have like multiple podcast interviews to do today, and so it's a busy day. But it was lunch break, so I figured I could come in and say hello without the chat yelling at me for talking over pointless parts of testimony.
I have figured out the sweet spot on balancing the audio now that I've had time to do it not live. And you came in a little hot, but I've adjusted you down, so you're all good.
I always come in a little hot.
We all,
yeah, I know
frankly,
what's
the only one who did, well, I didn't, Legal Bites didn't, because I had her pre-adjusted. Legal Mindset did, Runkle the Bailey did, you did, and it's not y'all's fault. It's how low, I have to bring our levels so far down to compensate for how low the streams are.
For the video. Runkle, do we go with Runkle or is it Mr. the Bailey? Like what?
Well, it's
What
a
works best
reference
for you?
to the old, British BBC series. So just Runkle works. It's,
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. I've been watched your channel. I subscribed, so
Thank
lots of
you.
people here that I've sort of seen faces, and nice to actually sort of put a voice to and have a chat with.
It's nice
Yeah.
to get to have a chat. It's been a very busy, like Astro World kind of a 24
Oh
hours
my
in
God.
my world, because my coverage is mostly pop culture and kind of news of the moment. And while this is news of the moment, it's not as immediate as the stuff that I normally do.
As
It's a
the
very busy
15
week.
dead at Astro World? Is it 15?
I saw 8, but the numbers could have changed today. There were still numerous in critical care. 17 went to the hospital, 11 in cardiac distress. In my wanderings as a human, I actually worked as an EMT for a little bit. My husband's a doctor, so it's interesting looking at both the medical stuff coming out, the liability stuff coming out. Attorney Tom has filed the first lawsuit with his firm.
Yeah, I saw that.
And another
Phenomenal.
firm that I don't know if it's his father's firm, but they both have the last name Kirker. I don't know how common that last name is. So they are filed the first lawsuit, and I think had a TRO hearing today. And I'm now seeing reports that all the deconstruction and the breakdown at Astroworld has stopped, and that's what they were asking for in their TRO. So I'm guessing that the TRO was granted this morning, and all the surveillance video and stuff's going to be turned over.
So have you had any time to follow what's going on today?
I saw what you posted on Twitter. It seemed like boom goes the dynamite on cross-examination is what happened today.
No, yes.
It was a 1-hour masterclass. So here's what happened.
The defense just wanted to start slow. They were pacing themselves. They're like, go ahead and underestimate us. We're going to sit back for a day and let you all think we're bumbling. Get comfortable, because then we're going to come in and smash you later on in trial.
They were hunting dick.
That is what it seems.
Yeah. So the short summary is today's Gage Grosskreutz, who seems to be the star witness for the prosecution. They opened up immediately with his medical expertise as a trained EMT. They went through that he was a concealed carry holder. They tried to mitigate the fact that he does have a prior conviction for what appears to be a misdemeanor. And I think they tried to mitigate that his concealed carry was expired at the time that he was concealed carrying.
Everyone was Kenosha shooting, so we knew that. What's up, Viva?
Yeah.
Everybody was
Do you want more,
connected.
people?
This is
Oh
dangerous.
God, I gotta
Hey,
turn you
Viva.
down just a second, Viva. Sorry, I really don't want to hear you talking. There we go.
Just
Sorry
mute
about
him.
that.
Just mute him.
It's better. No, it's all on my end. I've got us all turned down to keep the video balanced, but so I just had to level you out. But yeah, so first, he does a pretty decent direct examination. There's some spots where we're like, okay, this could be marked for cross, and then the crazy thing is they go to break. He says no further questions, and they go to break. They have a 15-minute. They come back, and the judge basically says you have 1 hour before lunch. And they spend an hour devastating the entire direct with a phenomenal cross. I mean,
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yep, they go straight for the throat on the whole thing, because one of the things he said is, I would never draw my gun and actually shoot someone. That goes against my core principles.
Then
I would
why do you
never.
have a concealed carry permit? Like, why bother?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Exactly.
We've asked
Thank
the
you.
obvious questions already.
Yes.
I mean,
think you were
you know,
right
but
on
I'm
it.
also from LA, where getting a concealed carry involves like donating a kidney and having retina scans. But why have a concealed carry if you're not going to use it? The point of having a concealed carry is to be able to use it if need be.
Exactly.
It's like all the accused who are like, listen, I don't use heroin. I just happen to have some on me.
These aren't my pants. Maybe did he say these aren't my pants? These aren't my pants that the gun was in?
They got him to admit that he lied about that he omitted having a gun to the police. More importantly, they got him to admit lying to some interview where he said he dropped the gun. He dropped his gun at some point in the evening. He says, yeah, that was not true. And then the extra, the gravy for me was he has filed 2 civil suits, one in state court, one in federal court. And in both civil suits, he has omitted the fact that he had a gun and was advancing. And he admitted today under oath that he omitted those facts from those 2 suits.
Suits that were signed under penalty of perjury?
Well,
Yes.
That would have come out of
Yes.
the civil suit. The gravy on the gravy was when he admitted to being not a member, but rather affiliated with this whatever group that he was.
Yes.
So he shows up. At first, they painted him as being, the guy there to help administer first aid, which they even had me on their side at the beginning. And then it gets to the fact that he pulls out the gun. He admits that he pulled it out and only got shot when he pointed it at the guy. He lied to the cops about it, and he happens to be a member of whatever group that they were referring to. I don't know what
Well, no,
it was.
he's not a member, but he is affiliated.
And he showed him
And
with
that
his
was the
fist
part
up
that
in the
he
air.
volunteered. He volunteered affiliation. No one asked if he was affiliated.
But he left it out of his civil, like, perjury's still a thing, people. It's a crime. I did a perjury trial once. It was the most fun I've ever had in court, because it was a lot of, wait, show me again in the video where you fell, because you said in your depositions that you fell on this city bus that you're suing the city for. And then it was like, well, you just didn't see it. Okay, good, let's rewind it and keep going. And then when he got handcuffed to go to custody at the end of trial and was screaming obscenities at me, I was like, I've done my job today.
He didn't want to kill him. He feared for his life, took out his gun because he was going to protect his life. It didn't get to that point, but he was not going to kill him because it's not in his what did he say? Not his DNA, but rather his composition. It was
Then
as
don't take a
bad
gun.
as a cross-examination as it could have possibly gone. I mean, he effectively admitted
Yeah.
to only being shot when he was posing an imminent threat to Kyle Rittenhouse's life. I mean,
So
it
I
should
was
be
only
done.
shot when I pulled out the gun and threatened the life of the person who then shot me because they shot
Yeah.
first, just like Han Solo.
And
While
it was gonna be
while I was also advancing, Emily, please
Yes.
don't leave out the part where I was.
But I wasn't chasing.
I admitted under
And-
oath that I did actually advance on him right before he shot me as well.
And he was
Oh.
only going to do a light mag dump. We're going to get to that when it comes back. It's just,
Oh,
just a
and-
gentle mag dump.
He didn't recall if there was a bullet in the chamber. That he said that evening. I don't recall. There was a wording that he used which indicated deceit. He qualified his answer that evening. I don't recall.
And then
he knew
his
damn well he had a bullet in the chamber.
well, his later testimony fully admitted to having a bullet in the chamber when he drew the gun.
And Viva made an excellent point about him coming on really good, like coming on as I am this, and it was to the point where I actually thought maybe the cross-examination is going to be something like, listen, you were also a hero here. It just was this confused scenario. But I actually think the prosecution did themselves a great disservice by letting him come on as such a hero, because it means that there's been such a fall. I think
Yeah.
the prosecution would have done much better here if they'd actually brought out a lot of this dirt and
Yeah.
said, listen, this witness is grimy. He's ugly. He's got all sorts of problems with it. There's all sorts of dirt on this guy. But you still got to believe what he says here, right? He's fessing up to things now. But because they come on with this guy as like, this halo, now it's not just, okay, he's a bad witness. That halo's turned into horns.
Well, no,
And-
and you lose faith with the jury as the prosecution because it looks like you're hiding things in your direct
Yeah.
when so much comes out on cross. You've got to bring the good and the bad with your witnesses out on direct because it mitigates the damage across. Otherwise, as the government, you look like you're hiding things. And the more it looks like the prosecution's hiding things, the more they lose a jury. The jury will put up with that from a defense attorney because there's this understanding that the defense is doing their job, this is their job. But when you bring the weight of the government and then you look like you're hiding things, the jury will turn on you really fast. And that's something that seasoned prosecutors who have done lots of trials know, that you burn your witness before you burn the jury. And there's lots of witnesses who don't look great. It doesn't mean they're liars. They have the past they have. They've done the things they've done, and hey, who hasn't? And you just present it that way, and it goes much more smoothly.
And I would like to welcome to the stream my friend Mr. Ty Beard, an attorney down in Texas. I think we're officially at a retainer of lawyers at this point.
This is a fleet of lawyers, a gaggle of lawyers,
Yeah, is this a flock or a gang?
A quorum.
a murder of
A
lawyers.
gulag of lawyers.
How about just most people's worst nightmare? I mean, that's what this is basically. 7 lawyers in one chat room.
The billable hours on this stream alone are off the charts.
Is it a whiskey? Can we
Completely.
call it a whiskey of lawyers? Like,
Yeah.
can we just make
Yes.
up the name? A barrel of lawyers.
A barrel of
Oh,
lawyers or a
God.
cask of lawyers, because
A
cask
cask of lawyers.
Ty,
That's too fancy Quebecois for us.
I'm with Viva. I'm bougie as fuck.
Ty, have you had an opportunity to follow much of this case? I mean, you're a lawyer who works. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's the problem. Is, I actually had a conference call canceled for the afternoon, so I thought I would check in, and then, well, one thing led to another, and here I am. It sounds like the prosecutors are doing a great job, right?
For the defense.
Yeah, for the defense.
With what they've got.
I wanna be an equal-handed critic. They did start out okay. They did start out okay today, and I was like, oh, their direct is going pretty well for a while. And if the defense were sleeping, their direct would have gone really well the whole time. The defense just happened to be paying attention, taking notes, and fully prepared to come in today.
Wow.
And Ty, you gasped, but on day 2 of this trial,
You said
it was
they
not.
didn't do so great.
It was not fully apparent that the defense was going to be fully prepared today.
Even on day 1. On day
Yeah.
1, that opening statement was not pretty.
It was not a great opening statement, but
They also
man,
don't understand the power of foundation. We had those moments of like, well, foundation's a thing, I guess not in this trial, but
Oh, to my people who may not have been able to watch all day, Emily, Viva, and Ty, I don't know how much you guys have seen, but the mystery HD drone footage will be entered into evidence. The FBI happened to find it.
It just turned up.
They realized it's not, it was still in their trash bin after they deleted it.
Yeah.
They didn't
Like,
double-
oh,
they
these
didn't
stupid
FBI
iMaps,
double-
I gotta pull it out.
To give
wondering
the
how that's
prosecution credit, the story they were telling at the beginning of the day about what's his face, Groskraut, being there as much of a medic to help as Rittenhouse, they had me, and I was a little nervous. I had never seen that angle of that witness. I never even thought of it. But then the more it went on, turns out he was there as a medic, maybe, to administer aids to his friends, as a revolutionary who was there to take down the system, carrying a loaded, bullet in the chamber, unlawful concealed carry, because he didn't renew his license, and then he chased him down. When he was saying I wasn't chasing him, he was running in the other direction. I went back at one point to see, about the people who were shot. Then I decided to go back after him, pulled the weapon, and it wasn't until the guy started off as a saint, really. And then it quickly became clear that was just the veneer.
Video game gun pulling spin move that got his arm blown off, kind of thing.
I had never
And
seen
that's
the footage
fault
that
of
close,
the
actually.
prosecution, though, because the prosecution set that up. They chose to paint him that way, knowing
Yes.
his full story. It sounds like they were well aware that this was going to be his testimony and that these were the facts. They did not do their job then in showing all of their witness, and that's on them.
They've been
So it's
also
like
the former
an
prosecutor.
insult
whole
to
thing.
his intelligence, is that a thing? I mean, is it like a good thing? I don't do criminal law, if I can avoid it, so.
Yeah, you want a guy who seems educated and composed to talk to the jury and talk intelligibly, right? Which tends to come with intelligence. So I think it's helpful to establish that this is a reasonable person who's up there in front of you. You can kind of trust him, This is a person you would talk to, not a person you would avoid on the street because he sounds crazy. That blew up. Viva, how about the moment where they asked him, they said, so wait, you saw them bringing someone in for medical care, and then you heard people from the crowd screaming, don't let them treat you, and then you saw the person walking away. So did you treat them? No.
What was amazing there, and you made the quip also in real time. He knew Rittenhouse was there administering aid, and they said, well, did you see him administer aid? No, I didn't see what happened after that, but I knew he was there to administer aid. And then you make a joke like, well, what happened afterwards? I don't know. He shot him. It really was as disastrous as it could possibly get, in part because of the way it started. It's true. I mean, then he comes off suing for $10 million, lying in his civil suit so that he has a greater chance of getting those $10 million. Comes out and prosecutes here. Will getting a conviction against Rittenhouse help you in your case? I don't know how that works. And he smirks like a little devious individual.
Yeah.
He knows damn well how that works, and that's how it works.
And Binger immediately should have objected. Objection, Your Honor, calls for a legal conclusion. And then he should have objected. Objection, Your Honor. They're asking for privileged conversations between him and his attorney. And Binger is asleep. And his wide boy co-counsel
Big boy.
is making the most memeable faces. There's one point where the camera
that guy.
pans over and he's sitting there like this, and you're
That
like,
was right
oh,
after-
The screenshots are on Twitter.
Was that
Oh,
pen
no,
guy
Nick,
who was
I
playing with
posted-
his pen last week when the judge was reaming him out? He was
yeah,
his
the
pen.
I think
guy
so,
who's
yeah.
the
and
guy
you could
who's
see
suit is
the
attacking him
reel-to-reel
like a
tapes.
tidal wave when he's sitting down.
Yeah,
This guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
heavyset
oh.
guy. He had a worse case of resting bitch face than.
I literally cannot learn his name.
Boy, he
Last
was-
night, Robert Gruller told me his name like 4 times, and I still can't remember because I just keep thinking
You're
him
mentally
as
blocked.
Angry Giant Man. That's all I got.
He froze up while the while the judge is talking to him, and he starts twitching that pen. I'm going, and it just gets that.
I just wonder
were
how
talking
much
about the
they
stop motion.
talked to the prosecutors about the fact that cameras were going to be trained on them. Like, this office should have reminded their prosecutors, at least over the weekend.
No
remember,
baby face.
They panned off the big guy as he had his hand, literally his head in his hands after that
Like that,
massive
yeah.
admission.
I've
And
done-
but Nick,
I've
I don't
done
know if you
that
saw. I mean,
before.
you saw it. I tweeted out that clip from the stream.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
370,000 views already. That's the moment. It can't get any worse than that. And Binger not
When you're just
objecting,
like this.
I do think at some point when it goes so badly, if you object, it's just going to make it look worse. So maybe
Yeah.
silence is the best
Yeah.
option. But
Now,
At some point, the prosecutors start objecting to each other's questions. That's a stupid question.
I think they're going to be set for, education of a poker match. Of just learn a poker face, guys. Come on.
okay, here we
Just-
go. We're back.
It's something
I'm
that really does
probably going to
matter.
duck out. I just wanted to say hi to everybody, and I'm going to continue watching with my kid who's home from school today.
See you,
Uh,
Viva.
See you,
Thanks for
Viva.
joining.
Thank you,
Yes,
Viva.
peeps.
Peace, brother.
I got a little bit on my lunch break here, and then I got to jump back into court myself.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
real
you guys are welcome to come back, stay as you wish. Emily, have you ever had to conduct trial on camera?
I have not, and I'm very thankful for it. I almost got sanctioned by a judge once for making a jury laugh with my faces, and he was not thrilled at all. I don't know how,
Ooh.
I'll tell you that story another time, but I don't know how I would have done in trial on camera. We had, the LA County DA's office has a unit that does a lot with the high profile cases and goes through media training, and that really started with more media training after the OJ case.
Be allowed as been discussed.
I just had my most recent hearing was on camera because only the parties and a couple of their associates were allowed in the courtroom, and everything else was by Zoom. We had, like 17 Zoom people because this is not a public thing like Rittenhouse. And so, I'm very cognizant that there's a camera on me the entire time.
Yep.
And, I mentioned this last night with Robert Gruler. Even when there's not a camera on me in court, I sit at the table, my hands folded in front of me, and my face neutral.
I
laugh
Sorry.
at the judge's jokes.
I
No, that's all.
You always laugh at the judge's jokes. I was always very mindful that the jury was always watching me, and I learned that in my first trial when a juror came up to me after trial and was like, "What were those shoes you were wearing on day 3?" I'm like, "Oh my God, they're paying that close of attention
Yep.
to what you're doing." And I learned that very early on, that the jury is paying attention and interpreting meaning into everything you're doing. And a fidgety DA looks like things aren't going well, and that perception carries a lot of weight with a jury. Like, oh, if you hear testimony and go like this, the jury's like, oh, that's super important. That mattered to them. That hurt them. Even if they didn't pick up the meaning themselves, your face gives it away.
Sometimes it's important to smile when you're getting slaughtered.
Yes,
Just
it
that
is.
Yeah. Yeah, because you
It's
don't
all
want them
fine.
to
It's
know
fine.
that you know you're getting slaughtered. Because if you look like you are, then they go, oh, maybe they are. Maybe they missed it because they zoned out during a bad thing. That's why your face should be neutral. One quick housekeeping thing, guys. We're almost at 10,000 likes, which is insane.
Nickel, drink more if you like more.
Stop it. Stop
That's how that
it.
works.
All,
That's how that works.
all super chats will be addressed
Okay, and,
either on this stream or
Jimmy?
on tonight's stream.
Okay, let's proceed.
I like this judge so much.
Mr. Grosskreutz,
Oh my God, he's the best.
for a second, if I can.
He's base.com.
I bet he has great dad jokes.
Oh my God. yes.
Granddad jokes.
I want to spend Thanksgiving with him.
Yep.
Look at the
And
face
hear about the
on
Roman Empire.
Grosskreutz.
So on this document, it's marked 2520. I don't know if that's reference to the time of the incident, but
Right.
this statement was given. It looks like 0900. I'm sorry, 9:46 a.m. of the following day.
So just so we're clear,
He's
it
not
says
looking as smooth as he did
on
before.
8:25.
No, he's having a bad day.
You think he realized over lunch the oh fuckness of it all?
I think someone told him.
I'm betting his civil lawyer basically said, "Hey, you know that 10 million?
Killing me.
You're not
Bye.
getting $10."
On this page. Is
Hey,
that
Nate.
right?
Yes, there is.
And it,
No.
this 2 pages.
You've been watching this insanity?
Yes, I would.
Oh,
Can you tell me what those marks are on the left-hand side of that document?
What is being referred to? There are circles. It looks like 2 on the first page, 2 on the second page. And these are on the left-hand indent, and in those circles are my initials.
So you had at various points during that statement put your initials on it?
Correct. I wasn't able to, I'm right-hand dominant, so I wasn't able to write. So the officer that, I'm not sure which officer that was, but the officer was taking my verbal statement, transcribing it, and then throughout, I I would initial either, so you can see here, there's the word approximately was crossed off. I signed that there's a correction there made.
Okay, so can I ask you this? Where it says, I told multiple officers that I had dropped my firearm, right next to that, you put your initials, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And to be fair, on the bottom of each one of these pages, it says, I have made the above statement without any threats or promises. It is my desire to state the true facts. As to this incident, I have read the above statement and find it true and correct. Is that what it
Oh
says?
boy.
That is what it says.
Oh, the
Testified
famous
to the
last
jury.
words.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So my last, where we left off, I just have a couple questions for you. I had asked you if you had any
You might
regrets
cry.
about that evening, and that you had said that you did not, correct?
Correct.
No regrets.
I had asked you if
Cubs.
person, Jacob Marshall, correct?
Yes.
And Jacob Marshall may not be today, but he was.
Yes.
And you had said that he had visited you in the hospital.
Yes.
And I'm going to show you what is marked as Exhibit 7.
Feel him like pulling the pin out.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of
Facebook
remark
is
he was
public,
making?
people.
I'm not interested in the
post of
stuff
how?
on the right now. I'm just interested in the photograph. Okay? Is that a photograph of you and Mr. Marshall?
Yes, it is.
Ooh, look, foundation.
That appeared to be taken after you had suffered the injury to your arm.
Yes.
And that's at a hospital. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
This is gonna be brutal.
Chris said you didn't have
Yeah,
any
it's
regrets.
been brutal.
Did you tell
Very
Mr.
excited.
Marshall that you're only
Jury's well rested. They're paying attention.
and hesitating to pull the gun before emptying the entire mag into it?
No, I never said that.
You didn't tell that to your roommate. Objection,
This might be-
You didn't tell that to Mr. Marshall?
No, I did not.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
And now he's looking to the jury. He hasn't been doing that in a while.
Yep.
Now they get them to pull the roommate on it.
Impeachment time.
Yes.
Who's the prosecutor looking at?
God, for help.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to help him.
Credibility.
Yes.
Hey, I'm about to shred
I-
your witness. This is what I'm using.
And now I'm gonna call the other guy and make him lie under oath.
Have fun with trying to fix this. I'm going to fuck him more later. You're welcome.
Mr. Grosskreutz, I just have a few follow-up questions here.
Or just a few.
At one point in the video that was played for you by the defense, you referred to the defendant as a boogaloo boy. What did you mean by that?
I don't recall if I
guess-
was referring specifically to the defendant. I think a more accurate statement would be the group of armed individuals, predominantly white males with AR-15s, in, generally speaking, some sort of, let's say, paramilitary attire. And what I mean by that is camel clothes, body armor, chest rigs, helmets, things of that nature.
Is it fair to say, Mr. Grosskreutz, that no matter what you tell us or remember, everything you did that night's on video or photographed, correct?
That is true.
I want to play a little bit of Exhibit 57. Can we go to the 31-minute mark, please? 31 minute.
Is there anything on the
This is
video
a
that helps
portion
us
of the
there?
exhibit that was played for you on cross-examination, and I just want to go back to that for a moment.
Whew. Not liking his chances on redirect here, frankly.
It just looks like he's trying to distract from the massacre.
He's got to
Yeah.
put something out there to sort of subdue that sting from the
It's
cross-examination.
lipstick. It's lipstick on a dumpster fire at this point.
It's lipstick on a
Dumpster fire
dead
that was started
pedophile.
by whom?
What a big big spot. This is not going to survive a motion for a directed verdict after closing the case. This is not going to
Yes.
survive that.
Looks like Boogaloo boys, good old boys rolling up. Two right there. Sure.
So all his assumptions.
Yeah, we got our own medics. You're good. You can go home.
Oh, they stopped it before you fucking stooge this time.
Yep. They're saying we got our own medics. You can go home. That's your voice, right?
Yes, it is.
Why did you say that?
It was my interpretation throughout the events of August 25th that these armed individuals, whether they were Boogaloo Boys, Proud Boys, etc.,
Oh my God, object to that.
Oh,
had a,
yeah.
we'll say, a homogeneous appearance. Again, meaning the rifle,
Homogeneous?
body armor.
Objection, there's no evidence the Proud Boys were even present that
And
day.
what I had inferred throughout the events,
They could do a
that
recross.
these groups of people
Let it go, yeah.
weren't
I'd chop this guy all day
very
long if I were the defense.
friendly towards
Yep.
Other demonstrators, and in specifically to reference the defendant, it was also my interpretation that the defendant lacked the necessary experience, potentially the necessary knowledge to adequately fulfill
Objection,
his
speculation.
self-proclaimed role as
How
Yeah,
on
total
earth would he?
speculation. How would you know that?
Can we now go to the 57
Apparently
minute
it's
and
psychic.
36-second mark in this video, please?
No, I like that for requests. I would leave that in and say, so you
Yeah,
believed that they were inadequate.
That's been
so
their
you
strategy.
decided to take it into your own hands because you thought you knew better.
That's been
Yeah.
their strategy. Of late. That's what they've been doing.
Yeah, their
That would be fun.
legal mindset called it a recrosecution later.
And Shurafisi is the recrosecution.
Well played. Well played.
So when the defense stands up and cracks their knuckles, you know you're.
It's in your property. That's why you got problems already with people.
He's not in camo. Is his hat camo?
That's his Facebook live feed.
Their big thing here is that Kyle went into the street to grab a dumpster that was taken off this specific property and return it. That's their gotcha. He left the property. It's weird.
Question about the defendant's reaction at that very moment in time when he was told by someone, don't go out in the street, stay on your property. And you were asked if the defendant reacted in a certain way. Do you know if he came and spoke with anyone about that comment at that moment in time?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Weird question.
Yeah, it's just like he's just throwing things out.
What a
I think
waste.
he's just trying to.
Trying to confuse the jury.
Now can we go to
I agree,
the
Nate.
Put some distance.
1
between
hour,
what just
17
happened.
minute, and 10-second mark in this exhibit, please?
I think he's just trying to bore everybody to get this thing out. Right? Let's just ask some meaningless questions to get this thing out.
Before the roommate comes in and is,
He blows
Just
it all
blows
up.
it all up again.
blows it all up.
Then we got Katy Perry's fireworks going on.
I think we also came in like a wrecking ball moment as I was listening to you guys talk earlier about the cross-examination. It was
Yes.
just brought the relevant questions first, which you always want to do.
That sounded like gunshots. Sounds like multiple gunshots.
Excuse me.
Yeah. No, this is southbound on Sheridan.
What was that?
Ty.
This is.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that was in the
Let's just
courtroom.
See it. Looks like they even set up a recliner. Oh, 110%, bro.
Yeah, dude.
100.
Do you hear what the crowd is saying at that point?
I do.
And what were they saying?
Sounds like they're yelling medic.
Is
Immediately.
that what caused you to start running?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought this was a direct, not a cross.
They're trying to reestablish that he ran towards the situation until the intervening act of he met Kyle on the road. I mean, that's okay.
But a lot of this is asked and answered, though, right? We're going through this literally the same testimony as before.
Does any of this address what was said on cross? Because otherwise, it's not the proper for a redirect. Because you're
This
only
is
supposed to
just
address
a
what's on
new
cross.
direct.
It's a complete waste of time.
Yeah,
This
it
is
is
new
outside
direct.
the scope of cross-examination.
Kyle just said I'm going to please him. Oh, sorry.
Although that was part of the cross-examination, that exchange was. So
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody? Who shot? Who shot?
Is he saying who shot or who
What
is
was
shot?
just played on the screen is
Case
the
number 2.
only words exchanged between you and the defendant after the defendant killed Joseph Rosenbaum.
Yes.
And you've already explained what you heard at that time. We've already heard the video. Was there ever a time in which the defendant said someone pulled a gun on him?
In hindsight, no.
In your statement the next morning, you told the police you'd heard the words, something to the effect of, he pulled a gun on me, from the defendant.
Damn, he's
Is that right?
lying on direct.
With the benefit of hindsight, we can see that never happened, correct?
Correct.
With the
Why would you
benefit of
do this?
hindsight.
At the time you gave the statement to the police the following morning, how long had you been awake?
Is that what you said to the police?
It's not what you said 20 minutes ago
A couple hours
or 2 hours ago.
After surgery.
after surgery, yes.
And before surgery, you'd been awake all day Tuesday, right?
Yes.
And in
So
the
he can't
time
remember anything
period
that happened because he was too
between
tired. So why is he testifying?
you were
So
shot
his
by the
testimony
defendant
is completely
and the time you spoke to the police officers, did you even have possession of your phone?
No, I did not.
Had you watched this Facebook live stream?
No, I had not.
but you took it.
You
So
were
you
there.
didn't have.
Can we
Existed in the moment.
His live stream.
Like, the only thing this gets to is that he didn't know what he could lie about.
Not good.
Is he yelling, "You're fucked"?
He's the guy screaming medic because his bicep just got
Evaporated.
turned into atmosphere, is what I was going to say. But yeah.
I think the word the witness used was vaporized.
Kyle is writing, well, next Saturday I'm going to be chilling at home, relaxed.
We can still hear audio, but there's no video coming from your live stream. Do you know why that is at this particular moment in time?
I believe it's because I dropped my phone after being shot by the defendant.
To the best of your knowledge, did the audio that we just captured, or watch rather, did that capture everything that you said when you are, after you talked to the defendant and had that little exchange until you got shot?
Yes.
At any point in there, did you say anything about you're going to kill the defendant, you're going to shoot the defendant, make any threats to the defendant of any kind?
No.
I mean, besides wave a gun at him.
Yeah.
While advancing on
Pointing to
him.
his forehead, right?
Doing that video game spin move from having your hands up to. Yeah.
Rittenhouse should request to admit Grosskreutz was his bicep
Can we
into the
please
atmosphere.
pull up exhibit number 5?
What's interesting that I don't know if the media's commented on, and I'm going to guess they haven't, is that whatever people think about Kyle, he went through a really traumatic event. Like, listening to that night is horrifying, and he's sitting there with a straight
Reliving
face,
it.
reliving it again and again and
He was
again
amazingly
without a
cool.
reaction.
He was
But he
amazingly
yawned.
cool that night.
There's
He
moments
yawned
that
during
he,
jury selection, you racist.
there's
He's-
moments that they've cut to him when he seems to be sort of having that 1,000-yard stare, and I bet he's pretty damaged. at this
I would
point.
imagine.
Barn suggested on a stream I did with him. By the way, over 25,000 viewers. Thank you guys.
Holy cow.
Barn
Make sure
suggested
you like
he.
it, guys.
Nice.
Like the
Y'all
video.
better try to get Nick over
While we're
200,000 so we can make him drink on the live
Let me
stream.
just ask you. Mr. Gross writes, the defense has shown you a photograph which has been marked as exhibit number 65. I'm just going to hold that up for you. Does this show you with your hands raised before the defendant shoots you?
Yes.
Oh no, they're gonna go down that path.
Oh, we're going down there again.
We've got the photo.
Pointing your gun at the defendant here?
No, I'm not.
Is this right before
Yet.
he does
Yet.
the re-racking of the gun?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I see what the argument
This
is.
isn't going to help.
This is the photograph that shows you moving towards the defendant after
He shouldn't have had to re-rack a semi-automatic rifle.
Now you were asked
If he
you
had
were
a,
It's like
using
it's like shotgun.
your
some
gun
sort of failure.
in this picture, and
No,
also
there's no
in
proof of
exhibit
that.
number 67. You
Didn't
remember
see
being
it in the
asked this
video.
question?
I do.
At any point during that encounter, did you intentionally point your firearm at the defendant?
No, I did not.
It was after that
Can
happened.
we play exhibit 5, please?
You know, when TYT says Rittenhouse has a good case, you know it's going bad for the Constitution.
Yep.
True, Nate.
When you impeach your star witness's truthfulness, you know it's going bad.
Yeah.
At this point in the video, there are people that are running in the same direction as the defendant. Are you even on screen yet?
I don't
Is
see
there a pause in the
screen, no.
screen? Okay.
Keep going. The person that attempts to kick the defendant has flown over the defendant. Mr. Huber is approaching the defendant. Are you even on screen yet?
No, I'm not.
All right, let's continue.
Why does it matter if he's not on screen?
Right. They
Now,
already went over his there.
On the
Yeah.
screen, but
On
here's
cross,
the sort of
his exact distance
crouching,
was from
you know,
Kyle.
crouching down as if what? What were you thinking at that moment? Why were you doing that?
Hidden tiger, crouching dragon.
First, yes, screen crouching, and it was reactionary instinct, I guess is a good way to put it, and the best way that I could.
Kind of looks like Mr. Huber is grabbing
Describe
his gun
that
in this
as
frame.
one
Is
of
that
the-
true?
Noise
No DNA was on it,
very
Nick.
large
Don't do that.
firearm, and I think that in itself probably started me. But then
Even though the
my
whole gun wasn't
immediate thought
swabbed, but you know, that's fine.
I could be shot next.
Just a tip.
If your intent was to shoot the defendant with your Glock pistol, would you have
Yes.
gotten that close to him?
That was my intent. No.
If that
What?
was your intent, you would
What?
have.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. Correct.
That's weird.
That's very weird.
Keep
It was
The
a
jury
very
all
good
just
lawyer.
went, what? At the same time, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm accurate to
Okay.
600 yards.
Would you
Yeah.
mind,
With a handgun.
if you can,
Yeah, rifle versus
standing
handgun.
up,
Yeah, don't get close.
the jury how your
You wouldn't want to be accurate.
position in this still?
In this still. Right now. Why do you need your water bottle for this exercise?
So
Is he
if,
acting something out?
Flustered. He's flustered.
Yeah, he's showing his ass to the jury too.
It's a stand-in for his bicep.
Put your...
Hope he didn't
This,
bust
by
the
the
seam in
way,
his pants. That'd be fun.
Often doesn't go well as a prosecutor when you're asking somebody to act something out if you have not had them do it before. They often don't get it right. It's very interesting that that's what they're trying to do.
Why is he...
They might
This,
have taken lunchtime.
this doesn't make any sense. Like,
Are
the
they going to
jury's
try to
not
have him
gonna
point stuff out?
The
and
jury's not
narrate
going to
it?
have the perspective of Kyle
No.
Rittenhouse on the ground from this. There's no way you can pull this off and make it convincing in the way
This isn't
that he
gonna go
thinks.
We're really close.
These are the kind of moments where you get the glove doesn't fit because nobody thought it through and they're like, it seems like a good idea to ask for this. It's not.
This is my
It's a bad idea.
I got in my hand. So the body is bladed towards the defendant.
I think they had a long talk.
I'd
Well,
ask him to
his
show
attorney,
off the
his
spin
civil
move.
attorney Had a long talk with him during lunch.
Left hand.
The
I think
defense
so.
attorney should ask it on recross.
Towards the
Did you
defendant's
talk to the
firearm.
DA during lunch?
Pistol.
All right, folks, I gotta slip out, but I might be back later if I can. Cheers.
Peace, brother. Welcome.
Bye.
Good talking to you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pick up children later, guys.
When you were
See you, Nate.
putting, after all this was said and done, was there any impact or anything like that on your left arm from that gunshot?
Yes, there was.
What was that?
Boom.
It was determined to be a
Ouch.
muscle burn,
From its proximity to the defendant's gun?
so a little more context on that. Bullet was fired.
Ask me open-ended questions like
That's
it's
fine.
correct.
We'll
because I'd like
move
to
on.
talk more.
They
Go
objected
ahead,
to
Nancy.
his ability to talk about this, by the way, and the
Thank you for
judge
doing
said
that.
sustained. This guy is
Thank
not
you.
an expert on muzzle burn. Good job, Richards, on that one.
At
Okay,
that
he's flustered.
moment in
Look at
time-
that.
Very.
Right before you got shot by the defendant, did you feel
Yeah.
there was an imminent danger that the defendant was going to kill you?
Yes, absolutely.
When you were just demonstrating to us the way your right hand was holding the gun, however it was angled, my question for you is that the way you hold and point a gun when you're going to shoot it?
No.
So you're poorly trained.
Yeah, you were playing with the gun.
I hope the defense asks about his weapons training.
Oh, they're gonna,
Yeah.
they're gonna chop all. Why did you think he would shoot you? Was it because you had a gun and was pointing it at him?
It's not a hard. The questions write themselves.
They do.
They really do.
I can't wait for recross. I'm literally excited. I don't get excited for anything.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
I didn't hear them.
Thing that played when Mr. Rittenhouse was walking past you, and you had said something along the lines of, "No medics are needed here. We don't need you." Right?
Yes.
But you needed one.
And you were saying that, "Oh, here come some Boogaloo boys." Never met Mr. Rittenhouse before, have you?
No, I'm not.
Here we go. Good.
Yeah. Who he was, any affiliation with any group, nothing. Right?
Good.
You were just spouting off guessing. Guessing.
I was making an inference. Yes.
No, you were
Uh,
spouting off guessing.
Yes.
Speculation.
Oh, he just did this.
And
Now we know Surefisi, with the skinhead, he's a racist.
Mr. Binger asked you if you ever threatened verbally with words, Mr. Rittenhouse. Do you remember him asking you that?
I do.
And your answer was he did not.
Yes.
You'd agree, people don't have to use words to threaten other people. They can do it by their actions. Correct?
Yes.
Like running after them down the street with a loaded firearm, right?
Yes.
Like
Wow.
approaching them, loading their foot and moving their gun forward while the person's on their butt sitting there, right? Those are
Right.
non-verbal things that can be used to show aggression, correct?
Yes.
Oh my. He's just leading the dog. Just.
Now you had been asked,
Swinging it by its leash right now.
you had shown a demonstration of, whatever you call it. I'll take your word on that.
A well-known sign of honesty.
This man has been demolished on stand.
Yeah.
And he's got to know, because he probably got reamed out by at least one attorney during lunch. While he's sitting there trying to shove a sandwich in his mouth, catch his composure. They're like, "You fucked up, you idiot."
I doubt if he could have eaten.
Mental
Yeah, there's no way he ate.
intention.
No. Big Boy was the one eating.
You'd agree what everybody's looking at is you pointing a gun at a person's head, right?
As well as the defendant pointing his firearm at me.
Absolutely. You are, by your own admission, pointing a pistol from less than 3 feet away at his head. Agreed?
Yes.
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree that that gun is pointed in the direction of Mr. Rittenhouse's head? You don't agree with that?
I don't agree to the 3 feet.
In the direction, yes, but directly, no.
Okay, that just looks bad.
Yeah, just let it go.
Excellent.
It's in the
There's no way out of
direction
that
of his
question,
head.
though.
You didn't
That
tell
question
him,
was beautiful.
right?
I don't have time to.
Well, as you're running, you didn't say anything, right? You're just chasing him down. You never say anything.
It would have been hard to communicate that over gunfire.
My question to you is, you never said a word to him other than approach him with your gun out from 3 feet away, right?
Yes.
Oh boy.
But nothing else.
Oh, nothing else. Done.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Excellent.
What do
Wait,
you
is he
think?
gonna
A bigger-
reread
You're not
that?
gonna fix
Oh my
it.
God.
Sit down. Sit
I'm just
down.
gonna make it worse.
Eli,
This is their only case, I think. This is probably what he's thinking. Like
even though
he can't let it sit.
you're asked questions about what he said at various times or things like that, did he make threats or anything like that to people, anything like that? You construed his actions as threatening, didn't you?
Based off of
They're hanging their hat on his perception, which
witnessing the
is
first
not
2 shots
relevant
that jumped
legally.
Killed Man, the third shot that killed Anthony Huber.
They've got
Yes.
the state witnesses calling this guy Jump Kick Man. Trumpian labeling going on. It's beautiful.
When you had contact with him, he didn't lie to you, did he?
He's not even gonna wait.
Yes, he did.
How did he lie to you?
This
After
is
having
great.
asked him who was shot, and then him saying, I'm going to the police.
You said in
after the
hindsight.
fact, and then saying, I didn't do anything.
So it's your testimony today that you heard. Now, to be fair, your first interview
Uh-oh.
that you signed,
Oh shit.
you said that he told you, I'm working with the police, right?
Oh, no.
Right?
Roll it on the door with the
No,
answer.
no.
Yes.
Okay, so you weren't telling the correct statement, correct?
Can you,
Yeah. You said that Mr.
Copy out of
Rittenhouse
this?
lied to you.
yes.
Your initial statement to the police was, he told me I'm working with the police. You know that's not true.
After the fact, yes.
Okay. So what is on tape is he said, I'm going to the police, right?
Yes.
You're not saying that's not true.
No, I'm not.
Nothing else.
Mr. Counselor.
Redirect?
No. No, he let it go. He let it
I was
go.
gonna say this is
Done.
feeling like Bridesmaids. The scene where the two bridesmaids they're trying to one up one another at the engagement party. Neither one wants to give up the microphone.
Oh boy.
Here comes Forrest with his pen.
I just tweeted out, Gage just turned into an absolute disaster for the state. Binger should be embarrassed and start a YouTube channel.
Lower himself to our standard.
Binger, get in here, buddy. Quit now. Quit
We don't
now.
want him.
Legal
Leave it.
finger. It'll do well.
Legal little finger.
So what's the big guy's name?
I don't know,
Biggest
Ty.
finger.
I can't remember.
I call him Forrest.
I call him Wide Boy.
So mean.
It's
Seriously.
B-O-I,
Thank you, Emily.
I'm not
it's mixed
assuming
ways.
his gender.
You've
Don't
seen
you dare
how
put that on me.
No, you've seen
You're
how
about
I
Heather
feel
Williams
about
this
talking
morning?
about people's bodies on Twitter. I
Yes.
made it very clear over the weekend.
Yes, but
Yes.
Nick is mean.
Look,
True.
You should,
Also
you should hear some
true.
of the things he says about me.
look. I have not.
Y'all
I
know
have
better.
I have impugned his character for giantness a couple times. I will say. Okay, never mind.
I will say though, you don't limit it to anyone. You impugn everyone for things.
I
He has an
impugn
equal
me.
opportunity offense.
That's a fair rule. That's a fair rule.
Yeah. Hey, chat. Post about his nose right now.
Dude, no. My people have when I stand up and have to adjust my camera, they make fun of my gut all the time. I'm the most embarrassing specimen that exists
That's
because
why
I
I'm
should
stand up
be
on
better.
camera. No one needs to know.
I do. Seated.
All right. So here
Someone,
we go.
you got a super chat that says Binger does have a YouTube channel. His channel is @LegalEagle. It's a great super chat.
Oh, she's got the mask, the inherent
Oh.
virtue signal.
Thank you.
Please
Wolf
state your
Gang,
name
for
and
that
spell
super
it
chat.
for the benefit of the court reporter.
Look, I can't
First
impugn
name
her.
is
She's
Heather.
cute.
HEATHER. Last name is Williams. WILLIAMS.
She's got a
Not her
great
And where are you
voice.
employed?
Oh boy.
The Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory, located in Milwaukee.
And what is your current position at the crime laboratory in Milwaukee?
I am a firearms and tool mark examiner.
And how long have you been employed with the Wisconsin State Crime Lab as a firearms tool mark examiner?
A little over 5.5 years.
So this is a
And what does
ballistics
that mean
expert.
to be a
Why
firearms
do they need a
tool
ballistic
mark
expert?
examiner?
As a
The
firearms
re-racking,
and
probably.
mark examiner, I conduct examinations of firearms and firearms-related evidence, such as fired cartridge cases and fired bullets.
And is there any specialized education or training that you have done pertaining to your job as a firearms or tool mark examiner?
Chat's killing me,
Yes,
sorry.
I first hold a Bachelor's of Science degree in Law Enforcement and Justice Administration with a minor in Forensic Science that included a 525-hour internship at the DuPage County Forensic Science Center. I also completed the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory Firearms and Tool Mark Examiner Training Program.
is
An
horrible.
apprenticeship training
It's
program,
painful.
much
I'm
like
not gonna
an
lie.
electrician or a
It's
plumber,
robotic because she
where
does
you
this
get
a
both
lot.
hands-on and classroom-like instruction.
That up top.
Hey,
thing,
Chad,
if you-
this is
What
how
did you
you
do?
establish an expert. You
Firearms
ask them all these things.
identification.
Yeah.
You don't just ask
Firearms
them questions.
identification is the comparison analysis of fired evidence, compares bullets to barrels and cartridge cases to firearms.
And what process is used when examining a firearm that is submitted to
I'm gonna
your
go to the
site?
bathroom during the boring stuff.
One
Be
of
right
the
back.
first tasks that we perform when a firearm
Fair.
is submitted to the firearms section is called a function test.
She doesn't
The
need a
purpose
podcast.
of the function test is to first make sure that the firearm is a functional firearm and that it is also safe to test fire. During that function test, I'll check the condition of the firearm along with all safeties that are associated with that firearm.
And then what do you do next with when examining that firearm?
I have a feeling this is
Once
going to
I've
be to
determined
pad
that
the
that
last
firearm
witness
is
testimony.
to test fire,
they don't
I will
end on that.
test fire the firearm. This is done to make sure that the firearm is
They've
working
stipulated just so
properly
much.
and the way that the
Why establish her
manufacturer
as an expert?
intended
I'll
for
be,
it to work.
I'll be interested to see
And
why
also
they need a
instances
firearms expert
in
and
which
what
we
they
have
want her
fired
to testify
evidence.
to.
Well, they already got
Those
in the
test
ballistic
fired
evidence with the
bullets and
social media
cartridge
cop.
pieces that are
So
produced are then compared to that
Without
fired
a proper
evidence,
expertise
see
and
if
without
they
objection.
were or were not fired.
exactly, Emily, like we like it.
This is how you
And
establish
did
an
you become
expert. That's what
involved
they're doing with all
in
these
a,
foundational questions. that
case
she
in your
took all these
professional
classes, has
capacity
all this experience,
regarding
and therefore is an
Cal
expert
Rittenhouse,
for
Joseph
the thing.
Rosenbaum, and Anthony Huber?
Yes, I was.
And how did you become involved with that case?
I was assigned to work that laboratory case.
I'd like to show you what has been previously marked and admitted as States Exhibit 28. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do. I recognize that as the firearm that I analyzed for this specific case. How I recognize that is on the firearm in silver marker. I have indicated that laboratory case number associated with the case, the item designation of that
Here's got a
item,
Vanna moment.
my initials, and the date that that was examined.
So is it my understanding that you would have actually examined this exact firearm and fired it?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I think that's good. Thank you.
And the reason the prosecution brings in a weapon like that instead of photos of a
So
weapon
what
like
do you
that is so
use
the
to
jury can
test
feel
fire
that the
a
gun is big, bad, and
We're
scary.
going to use
Yeah.
ammunition that is part of our reference collection. When we
Photos
choose
don't give
the
you scale
ammunition
size.
for our test fires, we try to choose it as close to the fired evidence that's submitted to that case.
So 223.
What is a cartridge?
A cartridge is unfired ammunition that's going to consist of 4 components. You'll have the actual cartridge case, you'll have the primer, you'll have the propellant or gunpowder, and then you have the projectile or bullet.
So what is a cartridge case?
A cartridge case is a portion of a fired cartridge that is left over after it's been fired in a firearm. You may have commonly heard it referred to as brass.
And how do you determine if cartridge cases were fired in the same firearm?
You're going to look at markings that are transferred onto the fired cartridge cases during the firing process. Those are the markings that we look at to determine if they were or were not fired in the same firearm. And then instances when we have a firearm, we're able to determine if they were or were not fired in a specific firearm.
So what's the difference between a cartridge and a bullet?
A cartridge, like I said, is going to be the full unfired ammunition. So it's going to be those 4 components. A bullet is just one of those 4 components. So it's the
Are they going to bring in the
projectile
bombshell that
portion
they
that
have
you'll
a
see on the
cartridge from
unfired
Kyle's gun?
cartridge.
Allegedly.
So what is a fired bullet?
A fired bullet is going to be the bullet that is expelled through the barrel of a firearm.
Why would you bring
It's
this
going to
person
have
after Gage?
impressions that are going to be left on that from the
Hoping
weight
that
of
the high-pitched nasal
spiral
whine
pattern.
That might be
Like,
scheduling,
That
though.
door of the barrel.
So how can you determine if fire
Law enforcement
equals
and lab
fire
techs
in
can
the
be
same
tricky.
firearm?
You're going to look at those rifling impressions that are left on a fired bullet from the barrel that it's been fired through.
Is your crime lab accredited?
Yes, we are.
And who accredits your crime lab?
We are accredited through ANAB, AN.
Why didn't they just stipulate to her expertise
the
and
American
save everyone
National
the effort? This
I wanted to wave that
Association
AR-15 around.
National
I mean,
accreditation.
sometimes
That's
the
true.
benefit of doing that in
And are
front
there
of
any
the
quality
jury is to
controls or
so
procedures
that they can
that
see
are used,
just how much expertise she
particularly in
has
your
and trust
Yeah,
her
the
on.
prosecution doesn't want them to stipulate.
Yes,
They
in the
want them
firearm section,
droned out
we
in
have
this.
a three-step quality control procedure. The first step is called the verification process. This is when any type of identification, elimination, or inconclusive results of fired evidence is then looked at by a second qualified examiner in the section. Once that verification process has been completed, there is then a peer review process.
Jonathan
in
Thomas,
which
was
all
she really
notes and
Miss Teen
reports are
USA
looked at to
2007?
make sure
That'd be
everything's
interesting.
clear, complete, and accurate. That last step is going to be administrative review. That is going to be when a supervisor will once again go through all reports and
My
notes
boredom
to make sure
might be that this was
clear,
my life for
complete,
10 years.
accurate before the
No.
report is submitted.
No,
to
we're
the
all
submitting
bored, and so is
agency.
the jury. At the,
Yes, I think so too.
marked as State Exhibit 72.
the jury's sitting here
You
thinking,
recognize
God,
that?
Gage got destroyed. God, that was ugly.
I would have held that rifle off until the last bit.
I do. This is the report that I issued for this specific case. I know that based upon the laboratory case number,
My
as well as it
signature.
has my name as well as my signature. And then it also has information on the second page with my initials showing that I did complete both of these pages of the report.
This cadence
Is that a true and accurate
murder.
copy of the report that you issued in this case?
I don't
Yes,
mean
it
to
is.
be like that,
Article
honestly,
Exhibit
but
72 into evidence?
it's her voice is nasally, but it's the cadence of how she speaks that is so it's so like practiced
Grating.
and off. It feels unnatural.
I've had a lot of lab techs that are the same way because they do that in every single case. They're not animated,
This is
they're
one of
very
the
robotic.
fired cartridge cases that I
Corners.
Could you
analyzed for
imagine
this
her
specific case. I
explaining
can
to you
tell
the
that
latest
based
episode
upon
of Real
the laboratory
Housewives, though?
sticker, the yellow sticker
No,
here.
that's why she doesn't have a
This
YouTube channel or a
has the
podcast.
laboratory case number associated with this case, the item designation, as well as my initials and date that I took this into my custody. I also have
That's
the
fair. This is how they're gonna
on the
introduce this
additional
evidence. They need
packaging
her
for this
foundation.
specific item.
Yeah.
And then we also have that.
It could also be
information on
because
the
she's
actual
coming from a
cartridge
technical
cases.
background, and so she's sensitive to the idea that
which-
she needs to
which
be able to
was the,
explain things slowly and in a way that people can
bullet that
understand.
was fired,
So that turns into sort of this like robotic
allegedly by the-
rhythm.
Where would
Yeah,
that
this is
be in
not-
that packet?
This sounds
This
very
is just going to
standard
contain
me.
one of the
Corners,
fired cartridge cases.
lab techs,
This is the
DNA
portion
experts.
of a cartridge that was fired.
Not
So this is the portion that is ejected from the
And also the less
that-
emotional that they
I
come
think in the
across, the
top
more
of that
professional they
three-fold,
look, the more
that is what was
detached.
presented to you as an already
so you
fired
trust them a
cartridge.
little
That's
bit
not one that you fired.
She also might be
Correct. Yes.
self-conscious
This
of
is a
this being
piece
on
of submitted
television
evidence for this specific.
and trying to suppress a little bit of the.
So what kind of,
Minnesota
is
accent.
that a true and accurate copy of how you would have packaged up that particular cartridge casing and all the other elements in Exhibit 71?
Not trying to dump on her
Yes,
at all.
I know
It
that
just-
this
it
is
just
how
comes
I
across
package this piece of evidence
frustrating.
because at each one of the heat sealed seals, it's going to have my initials as well as the date that I actually sealed this
A
piece of
Fitbit,
evidence.
not an Apple Watch. I can't. I'm
That was
already out
Exhibit
on her.
71 in evidence?
I'm out. I'm out. That's a life choice that I can't.
So
make.
after you test fire the weapon, the gun that we saw, then what
least it was
happens
purple.
next? in your
Stipulated
analysis?
to this.
So
I mean,
what
the
I will do
prosecution
then is
probably
I will
doesn't
compare
want it,
those
but-
test-fired cartridge
they wanna
cases
show the gun.
to
Ty was
the
right.
fired evidence cartridge cases for this specific case. I do that by using what is called a comparison microscope. These are two microscopes that are then connected by an optical bridge. It allows myself as an examiner to look at two objects simultaneously side by side. That way I'm able to see the markings that are transferred from the firearm during that firing process on the cartridge cases to look to see if the submitted evidence was or was not fired in the submitted firearm.
So what did you do in this particular case?
In this particular case, there were
you use
8 fired
mayonnaise?
cartridge cases that were submitted.
Obviously.
Each one of those 8 fired cartridge cases were then compared to the test fire cartridge cases that I produced so that I could be able to determine if they were or were not fired in the submitted firearm.
So you were submitted 8 of the, if you hold up Exhibit 71 briefly, you were given 8 of those cartridges on top?
Yes, as 8 fired cartridge cases, just like this one here, was submitted for this specific case and analyzed.
And did you
It looks like
find
the Fitbit
that
might be purple.
all 8 of
That's
those
a redeeming
cartridges
quality.
were fired through the weapon that Detective Venturamian showed you?
Yes, I was able to determine that the 8 fired
And it might
cartridge
seem silly that Emily's
submitted
pointing
in
these
this
things out,
case
but the jury's also
was
seeing these
fired in the
things too, and
submitted
maybe having
firearm.
these same thoughts.
And that was by comparing
Don't wear a
each one
watch
to the
as a
test
witness.
fired
Just don't wear a
projectiles
watch.
that you
At
fired.
least that one was
Good.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna get. They're
No,
people
no
are gonna,
jewelry pieces, nothing fancy.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
What? This witness was just to admit the fired shell casings, the 8
That
fired
all
shell
could have been
casings. That's
stipulated.
it?
Here to the stand.
Yeah, they were doing that so that the jury could have a little bit of fluff behind Grosskreutz.
that
They did not
is
want to
pointless.
end on that recross.
Whoa. Okay, so they just called Jason somebody to. I don't know who this is, so we'll
And
find
so for
out.
the chat, the point was, she's the one who took the evidence, collected the evidence, examined the evidence. Her name's on those reports. She's the one who sealed those things in. She's the one that examined the weapon. But they easily could have stipulated to that. I don't know why the prosecution didn't. It's probably because they wanted to bring in the gun. But there's literally, that's why. It's just foundational evidence, which can be very boring to a jury in this kind of case, narcotics cases, cell phone cases. All that foundational stuff can get very dry. Doing it after lunch generally makes sense because the jury's already kind of checked out. So you don't want your best witnesses after lunch, or at least I never did. I wanted those in the morning.
Another police officer. We had multiple police officers on Friday, and neither of them seemed to give anything of value.
This guy's got a white nationalist haircut, though.
Yeah, he's obviously a racist.
I
This is
shot
what your
Jacob
hair
Blake,
looked
and I
like
do it
3 weeks
again.
ago, Nick.
Yeah.
Yes, it's literally my haircut from a couple. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the joke on my channel. Sorry for the new people. It's
You've got to
forget.
explain, Nick. You've got a lot of people watching you on this stream.
I
How
know,
many people
it's
watching?
crazy.
State
Over
and, spell your first and last
25,000.
name for the record.
You guys go ahead and subscribe.
Jason
to Nick.
Krieger.
To get him over to
Yes.
Okay.
KR.
Yeah, he's
do
at
it.
185.
Yeah,
How are you employed?
with the City of Kenosha Police Department.
How long have you been on the City of Kenosha Police Department?
Approximately 2 years and 11 months.
And were you working on August 25th, 2020?
I was.
And were you working with an officer, Pep Moretti, at that date?
Yes.
Had you been working in the previous days during the civil unrest that was occurring in Kenosha?
Yes.
And on August 25th, what was your assignment?
Science
your
officer
general
is deep
assignment,
as mine, but he
with your
doesn't have the
partner,
puffy
Officer
bubbles
Moretti?
under his eyes yet. He's young.
So on that date and time, we were assigned to second shift patrol. We were patrolling the downtown area as well as
And the
handling
veins
calls
in the
that,
nose
throughout
even,
the
yeah.
city. Anything in progress.
Nobody's got as
So,
many veins as I do.
is it
in
fair
my
to say you
nose.
were focused downtown, but if there was a reason to go to another part of the city for a domestic violence or a burglary, you would still respond to that call?
Yes.
Is that different than how let's say the night before was in your duties?
Haven't they asked like
I believe
5 cops
that
this question
throughout
already?
most of the time, that was kind of
Yes.
we were heading
Why?
to in progress calls, focusing on the downtown area to handle any incidents that arise.
Now, on the night of August 25th, at any point were you ever asked to respond to a potential shooting?
Dude, do you really have to think about it?
I do
Wow.
recall going to a shooting. We were just right in the area. I'm not 100% sure if we were dispatched to that call or not.
Oh, that was the issue.
So, but at some point you and Officer
Ask
Moretti
better
went in
questions.
the direction of some shots.
Yes.
And do you recall how you went about going to that location?
Yes. So we were in the area of 60th Street and between the 12 and 1300 block on a other call. I believe it was a fire. I heard the gunshots coming to southeast of us. I looked at Officer Moretti, and we decided at that point we were going to head to that since it seemed progress.
Now, in your
That's why officers keep
training,
their windows down.
what are you trained to do if there is, let's say, a potential active shooter situation?
Huh. Interesting.
Was there any
characterization.
indication that there
Our
was
number one
an active
focus
shooter
is
in
to
this
stop the
situation?
situation or to make the scene secure, eliminate any active threats.
So with that in mind, what, if anything, did you do?
Like somebody run up to you with a pistol.
When we approached the scene,
Just ask this guy, what would happen if someone ran up to you with a
slowly.
pistol
That's exactly
drawn,
what I'd
pointing
trying
at
to
you?
attempt to gain any visual information that we could see. We had just been with a few other squads, other armored vehicles in the area, so we were assuming they were behind us. And we approached the scene very slowly to determine if we could at least get a visual on the any threats that we could see. We were hearing gunshots, we just couldn't see where they're coming from at that point.
Did anyone approach your vehicle?
Yes.
Who approached your vehicle?
There was a younger male. He was dressed in a t-shirt and I believe cargo shorts, and he was carrying an AR-15 style assault rifle.
Who is that? Kyle was
And
in
he had his
pants,
hands raised.
wasn't he?
I believe he was carrying a medic bag as well.
Did you hear anything that the crowd was shouting in relation to this individual?
I did not hear any specific phrases. There was just a lot of noise, a lot of background noise, and in my mind, I was more focused on hearing the gunshots and trying to figure out where they were coming from. I didn't necessarily hear any specific words the crowd was shouting toward me.
Do you? At one point, I'm gonna represent you. There's a video that shows you getting.
I'd
out
object to
of
this
the
guy because of how
squad
he
car and running to
reacted
the
last
trunk.
time.
You gonna get why you did
Specifically.
that?
I don't even care if it was a fake objection.
A lot of my equipment I use on duty is stored in the trunk. Gas masks.
Oh, he's the officer that went to the trunk.
If I would have retrieved something from the trunk, it would have been to keep me safe on the scene if there was an active shooter.
If I would
I
have,
do not
it
recall,
would have
I do not
been.
recall the exact item.
Hit that on
By
class.
vest, you mean like a bulletproof vest?
Yes.
Were you already wearing a bulletproof vest?
Oh, he said assault rifle.
I do not recall
Sorry,
what
I missed
vest
that.
I was wearing, but I do. I had my steel plate carrier with me. The vest I'm currently wearing right now is not
Yeah, they have
able
multiple.
to prevent a rifle round going through, but the steel plate carrier that I had at that time would have been able to stop anything up to.
Are you concerned about being
round
shot
24
in the
rifle.
courtroom, sir?
So the vest
A
you're
lot
wearing
of them
is
come off of
standard
patrol
everyday
and go
vest
right
that
onto
you
the stand
wear?
and testify because they're on
Yes.
work today. Nick,
And
don't give them a hard time.
a
And they're allowed to.
bullet fired
I
from an AR-15.
definitely
He gives
give them a hard
everyone a
time.
hard
Everyone
time.
gets a hard
Your
time
vest would
with
not
Nick.
stop it at all.
It's not
These
rated for
are
it. I've
police
never
who are
attempted to do it,
prepared for
but I
being
do not
called
believe it would.
this day.
And
on
how about your
this
squad
trial.
cars? Your squad
That's
car
true.
armed in any way that would prevent rifle rounds from penetrating it?
To my knowledge, no.
So,
Are
what do you
AR-15s
do as
known
this
to penetrate,
person is approaching you
the
on the
chassis
street?
of cars? I don't know. I'm legitimately asking.
They can.
As I watched him approach, I was giving him verbal commands to keep away from my squad. I did not want anybody coming up directly to my squad that could be a potential threat. So we were giving him verbal commands just to stay back. I had also grabbed my pepper spray out of my vest.
Please don't approach my car with your
I
rifle.
was going to use it if the individual continued to approach the car.
Why did you see him as a threat?
I never met him before. He had a rifle. Just given the situation at hand,
Objection?
there's a lot of circumstances where I just did not want some individual coming up to my squad car in that scene with there's gunshots still going off that I didn't necessarily know.
Because people were rioting.
You said his hands were up, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Do you typically
feel like
perceive
he was
people whose
surrendering?
hands are up as a threat?
No.
Are you serious?
What?
Throughout the past few days, we've come across a lot of individuals who are armed, and the first thing they do is put their hands up to signal that they don't mean any threat to us. Doesn't mean that they were
He's
surrendering. It
nervous.
just means that they just wanted us to see their hands. Hands are the most. They typically indicate if a threat is going to be present. So if we can see their hands, we generally know there's no threat there.
So you indicated
Surrender.
that you grabbed your OC spray or pepper spray. What happened next?
The individual approaching our car was not responding to my verbal commands. So I took the OC can, made sure it was able to discharge the spray, and I pointed it at the individual, and I discharged a stream of OC spray towards direction when he would not listen to my commands.
To be
At that
fair,
point,
he
how
said
close
he
was he
couldn't
to your-
hear what
you
was
were in the
being shouted because it was
passenger
so loud.
Yes.
At that point, how close was he to your passenger side door?
They'll
Is it
probably
if he-
talk about that on
I
cross.
believe he was within about 5 feet.
If you want to see cops lie on
Do
the
you know if the spray
stand,
hit him or
just
not?
go to a criminal trial. Sorry,
I do not recall.
I'm an asshole like
Did
that.
the
But
spray have the desired effect of him getting away from the vehicle?
Yes, he ended up walking away from me.
So once he left the area of your vehicle, what happened next?
I drove away.
I began to
have no
see
fucking
other squad cars and armored vehicles coming to the area. I believe I took up a position on the east side of the road towards the parking lot and just kind of held it there to attempt to gain eyes as more officers came on scene. Throughout that time, I just tried securing the scene as best as possible, trying to gather as much information as possible about where the shots were coming from, who was firing them, and who the suspect was.
I'd be interested.
What if
to
anything
hear
happened
what the
next?
commands were that they issued.
We were approached by one of the mutual aid tactical teams who informed us that they had an individual with a gunshot wound to the arm. I believe that individual was Mr. Groskowitz, and they did not know how to access the hospital. Since I was familiar with the area, Officer Moretti and I got into our squad car, and we escorted that tactical vehicle to the east side of the Freighter South Hospital and got Mr. Groskowitz into the ER.
Now,
just for the chat, mutual aid is the law enforcement that
tactical vehicle
comes
you
from
mentioned,
outside of the
is
area.
that what
and
some
outside of the
people
state
commonly
to help.
refer to as like a Bearcat or an MRAP or something like that?
Yes.
So then you accompanied that to the hospital, and it contained Mr. Grosskreutz who had been injured.
Yes.
Now, at the hospital, what happened? What did you observe?
So we got him into the hospital. I believe he went back to the ER. I stayed in the lobby. I was approached by another individual, Richard McGinnis, who kind of talked to me about that. He gave me information that he believed that he had the suspect on video just prior to the shooting. So I talked to him briefly, obtained the cell phone, and obtained the individual's ID card.
And then did you have him get interviewed by someone at the in your department?
could be hearsay, but he's
Yes,
already
I passed all
testified
that
and is
information
still under
along to
subpoena.
the Detective Bureau. I believe it was Sergeant DeWitt.
Now, at the hospital, when you were there with Officer Moretti, did you have any interaction with Joseph Rosenbaum, who at that point had deceased?
I believe that I helped Officer Moretti process and collect the evidence from one of the deceased. I do not recall which victim it was.
No further questions. Thank you.
Were you issuing commands from inside a car while a riot was going on, expecting him to hear you? Because my 13-year-old.
Consider someone with a pistol a threat?
I don't have a whole lot of questions for you, but
You shouldn't, because there's not much.
so if I could, and we've heard Officer Moretti testify. So, do you hear what you believe to be rifle rounds around 11 or so? On the 20th, on the 25th?
I heard gunshot rounds. I could not tell if they were handgun or rifle rounds.
Okay, so the type of firearm that had been discharged at that point, it was difficult for you to make out.
Yes.
But you knew that there'd been a discharge of firearms. You heard that much.
Yes.
So, do you recall seeing a person that you now know, be Mr. Rittenhouse, walking toward your squad car?
Yes.
Okay. And to be fair, he has his hands like this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I understand that you said that me if I'm right, throughout that evening, people maybe who had firearms, when they saw you, they put their hands up, so you knew that they weren't a threat to you.
Yes.
You pepper sprayed a non-threat.
This is also, to be fair, a way that
Very good point.
could threaten.
Yes, it could.
And you pepper sprayed it.
Don't take this as being critical. I'm not trying to be that way. But as he's walking toward you, he doesn't have at that point his hands on his gun, but he's just walking toward you, right?
And you pepper spray.
Yes.
Now, I understand your concern, but as he's getting closer to you, after knowing that a shot or shots had just been fired, I know there's a lot going on, but were you interested?
Stop apologizing and ask the
Just
question.
ask the question, yeah.
I was.
He doesn't want to come across as
And
coming off negative
starts
towards
coming
cops
to
in
the
front of
side,
the jury, I
coming to
think.
your side.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he testified
Do
on
you
direct,
hear
this
him?
means not a threat, so why did he
Wait.
perceive this as a threat?
Say anything to you?
The only thing I can remember him saying was something about a shooting. That there was no other verbal
So you
indication
pepper
from him
sprayed him.
coming directly saying it was me. It was just something about a shooting.
Okay. And you had just heard shots fired.
Yes.
This person's walking to you with his hands up and says something about a shooting.
He's gonna say, "Why'd you pepper spray him?"
I mean, his exact words were not something about a shooting, but
Fair enough. He says something.
Good point.
And that something is the word shooting.
yes.
And so I understand that we've seen the video, you pull out your OC spray, and after giving him a command, you spray him with the spray, right?
Yes.
Do you see...
He's smirking a little bit when he
Mr.
says
McGinnis,
that.
you had mentioned that you see Mr. McGinnis at the hospital. He shows you the video?
Yes.
Do you say to yourself, that's the guy that's walking with his hands up that I just saw?
There it is. He knows.
I did recognize the individual from the video, and into my mind, I believed he looked familiar.
Okay, and again, so do you
Look at the lips,
tell
they're
anybody
twitching.
at that point, like, look, I'm putting these together. The guy that has hands up, that's the guy we're probably looking for.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I do have two other questions. As he's walking up to you, do you ever ask him, and I understand it's a chaotic situation, do you ever ask him for identification?
No.
Do you ever ask him or do anything with the fact that he's possessing an AR-15?
No.
No, I don't.
Interesting.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent.
Good way to end it.
Yep.
You
Here we
just
go.
heard
Here we go.
gunshots. He walks up to you and you don't ID this guy.
Were
What
there
is
other
redirect
people,
gonna be?
not necessarily in front of your
Just
vehicle, but around the area, in addition to Mr. Rittenhouse?
I do not recall.
No, there were not. We have it on
There
video.
weren't.
He's the only guy by the cop car.
Were other people trying to give you information regarding a shooting or a potential shooter or anything like that?
There was a lot of voices shouting. Nobody directly came up to my squad car window like Mr. Rick did. But there was people after he had left the side of my squad car as I got out of the squad who did give me information about potential suspects as well.
Now, when you and Officer Murray are trying to get down to the scene of the active shooter, what is your primary goal?
Stop the killing, stop any threat.
Is that consistent with getting identification and speaking to an individual approaching your vehicle?
No.
Thank you.
So they didn't think he was a threat. Stop any threat. Don't get ID from this kid. This kid's not a threat. Ergo, this
Yep.
kid's not a threat.
Yep. It still proves his point.
The state calls Kristen Harris.
Welcome back, Emily.
Yeah, I just tweeted out defense in Kyle Rittenhouse case will be charged with murder today for what? Oh fuck! I
No edit button.
typoed it. I said defense. I meant the prosecution.
Delete that tweet.
Limited edition tweet is deleted.
The defense will be charged with the murder of the witness, but
The
you can't really joke about
prosecution.
that.
That's what I was gonna say.
There you go.
How you doing?
Could you state your name and spell your
Murder or
last name
manslaughter?
Yeah, my name's Kristan Harris, Kristan. Last name Harris, Harris.
How are you currently employed?
Basically,
I guard the bridge.
I've been furloughed, but I've been pursuing my passions, obviously doing the Rundown Live, which is a reporter, and I do talk radio.
I've been pursuing my passion.
They have the rundown there.
It's an independent news of media. We try to bring all
This is the
viewpoints,
guy
have civil
who's,
conversations, sometimes about difficult
Testimony they were
content or
objecting to
content,
as a third
as well as
party
we cover protests,
speaker on the video.
of all varieties.
They've already entered
The rundown
all
live.
political viewpoints as well.
Maybe they didn't have
Is
him
there
until
a large group
over the
of people
weekend.
that
Yeah.
produce
probably.
the Rundown Live, or are you kind of the main?
Rundown Live
there's
has been
several people
doxed.
that are involved there. It's a group of citizen journalists. We quite often post stuff from other independent news sites. We try to report news before the mainstream media does, so we can give a very raw version.
What is your?
Though he seems
education
very
background?
comfortable. He must have talked to this.
You know, I
prosecutor
finished high
before.
school, but education really didn't become important to me till my
He's
later
a
years.
YouTuber.
So, you know, most
Even
of my
if you're a
research
YouTuber
I've
with
done
low
through my own
sub
reading
count,
of
you're
books and information.
Daily.
Do you have any formal journalistic training?
That I do not.
And do you operate out of the Milwaukee area?
That is
The
correct.
media sucks.
How long have you
We do it
been
ourselves.
involved?
No
I think
objections.
we can all agree on that.
I've been doing reporting for about 12 years.
When you say reporting, is that all the Rundown Live or other stuff?
He's going. You're a
I also
journalist.
contributed to one of the top police
With
accountability
air quotes and
websites,
everything.
writer.
I heard the air
Block,
quotes on his voice.
which
Are
has
you
been
a
around for a long time.
journalist?
What is that called?
Cop Block.
Cop Block?
Yes. .org.
Cop block, guys.
And
Cop
when
block.
you say
Stop
you
block.
contribute
That's
to
funny.
With
them,
a P, with a P.
order for them?
I used to write
I
for
like it.
though it's a defunct organization under the ban amongst a lot of other websites.
Defunct?
You
When
might say
did
it's
you
gone a little
first
limp.
Get involved in the Rundown Live.
A little flaccid.
It's probably around 2011.
It was blocked.
Did you form it, or did someone else?
Someone else formed it.
And then you joined it.
Yes, that is correct. And that person is no longer involved.
Do you have any sort of title with that organization?
There.
I guess I believe I'm the editor.
I guess I
And you
believe
said
I
you
guess.
covered a lot of protests. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Since about 2013, I probably covered over 100, 150 protests. I don't know the exact number.
What types of protests would they be?
Everything from
Mostly peaceful.
something
Just say mostly
basic as
peaceful.
Second
Mostly
Amendment
peaceful,
rights,
yeah.
Sometimes fiery.
healthcare workers, against mandates, to BLM, Minneapolis, the burning down of the 3rd Precinct, DC, obviously January
By
6th,
BLM, you mean Bureau of Land
Kenosha, and probably countless BLM protests.
There were some things there that I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You said the burning of the 3rd
Burning down the 3rd
district.
Precinct of Minneapolis. Yes. That was the date. I don't know the date. That's all I recognize.
That was one of the things that happened after George Floyd was killed.
That is correct.
And you,
When a police
Karen,
precinct
we need
was
to slow down.
abandoned and burned to the ground
Sure.
right around the same time
whatever
as
she
this.
says. So we
Actually,
gotta
very
check.
weird.
you also
Propaganda.
mentioned January 6th. Is that with regard to what happened at the United States Capitol on January 6th
Were
of
they
this year?
racists there?
That is correct.
Were you there for that?
I was.
Okay.
What do you
you
mean
in
by
the
were you
Capitol?
there for that?
Online.
That's the
correct.
insurgency?
You
Cover
mentioned
in charge?
Kenosha. Were you here in
I
Kenosha?
think the rundown
for
live is
the
actually
events that
relatively
followed
right
the
leaning,
shooting
but
of
I
Jacob
don't
Blake?
know.
I
Chat
was
can
on
correct
scene
me.
within an hour or two of the shooting of
They
Jacob.
will.
I don't know
Were
why
you
those things
then,
matter so much, though.
Well,
It's just interesting to
help
see
the
the
jury to
perspective
understand. When
of
you
a
talk
potential
about,
witness, in my opinion.
The rundown
For
live.
us, not for the jury.
We're
Agreed.
familiar with a lot of different types of media, newspapers, magazines, the internet, things like that. Can you help us understand exactly what you mean when you say you cover these things?
Yeah, I'm a citizen journalist, so I generally go to these events and I stream a lot of the times. I interview people to try to get natural conversations and have civil conversations so people can understand, in my viewpoint, what people really are saying before there might be propaganda added. So
I can see
both
people
raw
just
and
chatting
written.
with this dude super
So
easily
when
on
you
the
came
street, just
down
being like,
within
this
an
is what I
hour or
think.
thereabouts
Yeah.
after Jacob Blake, were you interviewing and speaking to people?
Yes.
Do you record that in any way?
Yes, I do. Well, I stream it. It's recorded on the cloud.
Okay. So is it fair to say that when you are covering any sort of event for the Rundown Live, you have a camera that is taking video of the things you see?
That is correct. I usually use my cell phone, which is a high-end device.
And then that video is
Apple.
live
9
streamed
megapixels,
to
buddy.
the internet on whatever site you use so that people can watch it pretty much live. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say.
He said live
So,
streaming.
for example, on the night Jacob Blake was shot on that Sunday night, August 23rd, you were here using your equipment to live stream things that you were seeing.
That is correct.
Did you continue to do that on Monday night?
Yes.
And again on Tuesday night?
Yes.
So I want to skip right to the night of Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Were you here in Kenosha that night?
I was.
Were you live streaming for the Rundown Live?
As well as collecting B-roll, correct.
I'm sorry?
B-roll is footage that you take because you can't stream live because your internet connection is, so it's actually recorded straight to the device.
Do you recall approximately what time you would have arrived in Kenosha that particular day or night?
Yeah, around 8 o'clock, 8:15.
Where did you go once you came to town?
I headed down to the courthouse because that's where things were happening.
And then did you start your live streaming at that point?
I attempted to, but courthouse internet isn't the greatest. So.
Fact.
Who do you think has the nicer set of jugs? So what did you do then?
Sorry
I
about that.
recorded videos straight
Don't
to
worry
my
about it.
cellular device.
What else are you watching?
What are you watching on your computer?
I looked up Ryan
Did there
Long.
come a time
That's
in which
his.
your internet connection improved?
That's his intro
Yes.
video.
How did you manage to make that happen?
It started to improve when I first started to head towards 59th and Sheridan.
What do you think has the nicest set of jobs?
Do you know what changed that made that better?
Yes, I ran into an interaction between Ryan Balch, I believe, and Gage Grosskreuz and other people that by the courthouse, and I asked if there was more armed individuals because the night before there was a video that went viral, people protecting property, and I felt it would make a different story than getting the same story I had the last 2 days.
And I do want to talk about what you just mentioned, but I think I didn't ask my question very well.
I like this witness.
You talked about being here and having poor internet by the courthouse, but then it got better when you went down to a different
That is
location.
correct, so I could stream live.
What was it that made the internet better or stronger down there than here? Do you know?
I don't know if it was just I had poor cell phone service or it was just better location.
Objection, this is
That's the
boring.
only thing I can think of is that bad location on my way.
Objection. This
Improved. I
witness is
attempted
not
to
an
go
expert
live
on
then.
cell
I was
phonery.
able to.
Is it fair to say that once you were able to go live, you continued to broadcast live throughout most of the rest of the evening?
That is correct till my battery ran out.
Okay. And
Dude,
did
no
there come a
backup?
time in which you went to that 59th Street car source location?
Yes.
Okay. And you've been here in the courtroom throughout parts of this trial. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
And you
They
have
didn't
some
sequester
other
the witnesses?
testify, such as Mr. Balch and Mr.
No.
Lukowski.
Yes,
Wow.
that is correct.
Wow.
And when
No,
you were
actually,
out
this
live
guy,
streaming that night,
they probably
you,
did. This guy wasn't
went to that
subpoenaed at first.
car
I
source
don't think.
location
Oh,
and
okay, yeah,
interacted
yeah.
with those individuals on some level. Is that fair to say?
That is fair.
Okay. I want to focus in on a period of time in that evening when there was a dumpster that was pulled out in the road.
You're
out,
really
out front
focusing
of
on the
59th
street
car
dumpster.
source. Do you
They have nothing.
Whether or not it's on
That's two
fire.
separate questions. First of all, do you independently remember
The
that?
personification of their
religion.
case. That's
Yeah.
why.
Did you also get some video of that?
I did it with stream live.
And then from there,
You're gonna play him calling them a
did
militia
you
over and over
continue to
again? That'll be
remain
great.
physically at the 59th
Dumpster militia
Street
shots fired.
location
Their
for
avatar.
several minutes after that?
I did.
And were you in close proximity to either Ryan Balch or the defendant, or both of them, during those several minutes afterwards?
Probably within 20 feet.
Okay. Could we begin? I'm gonna. Our TVs are on. If not, I'll turn them on.
Could we begin?
Please watch a little bit of your live stream, which has been marked as
They're gonna
exhibit
get
number 18.
cross-examine him
and
on
we're
the
gonna go to
militia
the
statements.
1
over and
hour,
over. Like, do you have any
22-minute
indication that they're
and
actually in the
14
militia?
second
No.
Do you know
Also,
what an actual
by the way,
militia
this is going to be live streamception because we're going to be live streaming a live stream of a live stream.
It's like
Just want to point that out.
While live streaming. I don't think any of us have a journalistic background. It's fantastic.
What's
I
a
think
journal?
we're outdoing all of the journalistic outlets on this case right now, by the way. So get wrecked, you journalism majors.
I think you have been the whole last week too, Nick. Your
I think so.
Hey, Dinesh D'Souza. Perks, my friend. You got that?
Wait, what? Dinesh D'Souza?
He tweeted out a segment of your show.
Oh, sweet deal. Thanks,
Nice.
Dinesh.
Mr. Harris, do you recognize what is up on that screen?
I do.
Can you tell us what that is?
It looks like a dumpster that is in the middle of the street.
That's my
And is
screen.
this
is what they were
a
looking
portion of your rundown live stream from the night of August 25th, 2020?
It is.
And would you agree with me that we are
You're on the
looking?
internet now.
Well, you personally recorded this, correct?
Correct.
And this is taken from the 59th Street car source lot looking into Sheridan Road facing east. Would you agree with that?
At this frame, yes.
Okay. Can we please play the video?
Fair.
And
uses a screen from his phone.
Militia. Third word.
The first word being
And. Sorry, let me correct you. And.
Dumpster fire.
militia.
Dumpster fire. Hey, it's just like the year, man.
Yeah, right. If 2020 is a blunt, it would be just a fucking stem.
We're gonna need a qualified as an expert
I can
on
use the
stems.
doobie right now.
These
Doobie,
blunts
what's
of
a
which you
doobie?
speak.
Just 1 second, please.
Hey, you can't object to hearsay anymore because this guy is here, so you get to cross him.
Right.
Dumpster fire, just like the.
Two people in this video that I'm going to point out to you. There's a gentleman here that is a little bit taller gentleman with a beard, cap on. And there's a woman next to him that appears to have sort of British hair. Can you see those two people?
I do.
Nope.
I'm going to ask two questions. First of all, that night.
You keep asking about the Zeminskis and not calling them.
I did not.
It's odd.
Were those the storerooms?
I believe one of them was the person who
One
shot
second, Tom.
the fire behind, or the gunshot behind Rosenbaum, and I don't know who the other one is because their back is turned.
No dispute, that's Joshua and Kelly Zeminski? Okay. So I'll represent to you, sir, that the taller gentleman is Joshua Zeminski, and the woman next to him is Kelly Zeminski. Okay? Please continue.
All right, let's. Morning. How's it going? You guys want to fuck around and find out?
Hey,
Fuck
hey,
around and
hey.
find out.
You want
Reel in.
That's what's up.
Reel in. Reel in. Don't cause problems when there's none here.
Fair.
That's not Kyle.
Yeah, that's true. Just stay on your property. Otherwise, you're gonna cause. There's way too many of them.
Way too many of them. You don't know how much ammo I have, good sir.
There is an individual who is standing on the edge of that frame on the right-hand side there. Do you recognize that person as Gage Grosskreutz?
I do.
Okay. Please continue.
I have to agree with her. Yeah, they shouldn't be on the street. They're just protecting their property. One of the guys is an asshole.
I know. I thought they were yelling at them. I was like, why?
Oh, no,
These guys
well,
were. What we did, they lit it on
One
fire.
of the guys losing his patience. He should go inside.
Yeah, that's what we're about to send him.
Yeah, if you guys could switch him out. Just somebody's loose cannon. He's got a lot of rage. He says the wrong thing. This whole crowd burns you guys alive.
Who are they talking about?
They're talking about the guy who said you want to fuck around and find out. This is all actually
Yeah.
good for Kyle.
Yep.
Yeah, if
This
you guys
crowd
could switch
will
him out.
burn
Just
you guys
somebody's
alive.
loose cannon. He's got a lot of.
Plus, there we go. Again, I want the jury to see that in the middle of the screen there is a taller gentleman with his hands in his pockets. That is Joshua Zeminski. And on the TV screen to the left of him with jeans on, that is Kelly Zeminski. All right, please go ahead.
Rage. He says the wrong thing. This whole crowd burns you guys alive.
This whole crowd burns you
That
alive.
is not helpful for the prosecution.
Just keep it there.
Yeah, defense can just get him on cross. So you thought the whole crowd would burn them alive.
If anyone
one guy
said
screwed up.
anything. If anyone said anything.
Dude, he's just trying to protect his property. He doesn't want anything. He has no problem with you guys. He just doesn't want anyone to burn down his shit. I can't blame him. I understand. Hey, your job isn't to be in the street. You gotta stay on your property. That's why you got problems already with people.
Literally returning the property that they're protecting to the property source while no one is
No
around
one bothering your property.
And clearing it out of the street.
A medic? I know you are, but like, they got their own medics. You know, if somebody's close by, take care of them. I know you're just trying to make peace. I get.
As this video is playing, we hear your voice speaking to someone in the background. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Who are you speaking to?
I believe that was an interaction with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Do you recall anything about what he was saying to you at that point?
That he was a medic, and that was it. Pretty much that I got from that.
You said at one point they have their own medics. Did you hear that?
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
I cover a lot of protests, so I become familiar with a lot of the BLM organizations over the summer, especially during the George Floyd marches. So I felt a little bit more comfortable, per se, because I've had more interactions. That's all basically I was.
Sure. But you indicated they have their own medics. What does that mean?
Basically, the medics are, from my understanding, are individuals who volunteer to help out and take care of individuals that were injured. And I've seen them on multiple occasions, 8 individuals that were injured in protests.
Continue.
But they don't look at it that way. They look at you guys as it's a different. It's as much as you guys were afraid of them before they marched down here. I know, but like what a conversation you're having.
This cross is going to be great. So when you said they were proud would burn them to the ground
that way, or something along
What's that based on?
What did you mean by that?
You were afraid they were going to attack the property.
A lot of the protesters identified the armed citizens as counter protesters. They didn't identify them as just protecting their property.
Would it be fair to say that it was your impression that...
That was my impression. Correct.
Sure. Would it be fair to say that it was your impression that the people in the crowd viewed the people around Mr. Rittenhouse as a threat?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that there may have been some individuals that had it, but not in the majority. I can't speak for everyone. I don't know what they were thinking.
Okay, let's continue, please.
Well done.
Why would you ask that
Honest
question
answer.
unless you thought he was going to say yes?
Exactly. Honest answer.
There's been a lot of that in this trial.
I can't wait till on redirect he impeaches the rundown's credibility for being afraid that his YouTube channel will get bombed.
He has a really good read on what's happening here and said, I've been to all these protests all summer. I have a good read on what's going on with people and how these crowds act. I think the defense can use that too.
It appears that Mr. Balch and Mr. Lukowski are running towards you yelling gas, gas, gas. Would you agree with me on that?
That is correct.
What was going on?
The Bearcats were rolling and they began to tear gas and trying to push the crowd past, I believe that's towards 60th. So 60th.
Okay. Have you recently watched this portion of your video?
I have.
And would you agree with me that for a few minutes after this, you are in close proximity with either Ryan Balch, Kyle Rittenhouse, or both of them at the same time?
I don't know for exactly how long, but yes.
Okay. I'm going to have the video played further, but I'm going to have the sound turned off.
Okay.
And then I'll let my colleague know when to stop the video, okay?
Why? Were there things in here that were objected to?
The jury where
only because this guy wasn't available for cross.
Yes, it's the back corner of the car lot of Car Source.
If there's something useful, they'll just ask for completeness and introduce it on cross.
And where you're at right now in this video are either Mr. Balch or Mr. Rittenhouse near you.
But that could make the
They were
prosecution look like
probably
they're hiding
within
things.
15 feet. Are there any of the protesters or people on the street or anything like that anywhere near you at this point?
Negative.
Why is that?
They all move towards the.
Don't
what
say
I call the gas
negative,
station,
guys,
60th
on the stand. Just say no.
Is that in part because the police have
Kinda
just
fucking
gassed
weirdo are you?
That would
Negatory.
We're gonna
Negatory.
86 that
and that
big
dispersed
Ricada.
the crowd?
Right.
10-4, good buddy. Come
We
back.
got an affirmative KIA in the AO.
Breaker 19.
Don't make me start singing
That's
Convoy. The
defendant
chat
that
will
just
turn
came
on me
walking
quickly.
towards you, right?
Okay, we could do it a cappella because yeah.
Tactical speak doesn't look good in front of a jury
Okay, now
or
that's
in
a
front
solid
of the
point.
cops that you're
Wind
trying
is
to
blowing
impress.
that gas
Or in
towards
front of the
you and the
YouTube
other folks
lawyers that are
are around the
streaming
corner.
it.
Is that fair to say?
No. Do it more for
Did
the
you have a
Lord.
gas mask?
We love the LARPing.
Did any of them? Do you know?
Not that I saw.
Let's pause right here. Mr. Harris, do you see those armored vehicles in the street?
Sure do.
What
Now,
are they getting at?
I'm reading the screen here
How
correctly.
can you make this trial boring?
Your
Yep.
video file here has about 24
I think that's the
minutes
point.
left to play. Would that
We've
be
already seen
accurate?
most of
That would
those.
be accurate.
Forget that witness. that got
Have you watched
roasted
this video
earlier.
recently?
Yes.
Does this video end around the time that Mr. Rosenbaum, or the defendant, shoots the people?
Yes.
The
Within a few
people?
minutes after that, battery ran out.
So would it be fair to say that at
Just
this
missed it.
moment in the video,
No battery pack?
the shootings are going to be in roughly 20 minutes or thereabouts after this?
Roughly, yes.
I see that the Bearcats and whatnot are in the road at this point in front of the 59th Street car source. Do you know where they traveled after this?
They traveled more forward towards 60th Street, I believe, and then they stopped there.
Did they establish a line keeping the protesters south of 60th at that
With
point?
that, with the MRAPs or Bearcats, yes.
So is it fair to say, Mr. Harris, that for the remainder of your video, as far as you know, no protesters came back to 59th Street car source after this?
Not that I witnessed.
That's a fair answer. And
Two
specific.
questions. First of all, do you independently remember at any point in the sequence of events that we've just seen, starting with that dumpster fire and all the way forward here, you remember ever seeing?
Shouldn't use that word.
Say fire
I
in
do
the
not.
dumpster.
Yeah.
After
Avoid the
rewatching
idiom.
your video, is Mr. Rosenbaum in this
I'm
video
living.
at any point
Just lost
during the
about
series
1,000
you just
tweets.
watched?
No, not that I can see.
When
I have
boomers
nothing
don't
to-
understand memes.
What was the point of this witness that was terrible?
None. There was no point.
Ready
He
for the
did
cross?
nothing.
Because this will be better.
The cross is going to be good.
I was ready to go home. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, he's
Guys,
Oh, did he get up? He's
Yeah,
down
he's
after
like,
cross-examination.
I'm out of here. Peace.
I'm done. Peace. Nope. Sit back down, buddy.
Set your ass back down.
You got a lot to go.
No, it's all right.
Guys,
Running
I
out of
learned
there.
all of my
First time.
tactical speak from Stone Mountain 64. Hashtag Stone Mountain 64 is the best
Mr.
Facebook
Harris,
streamer there is.
On the video, you described
He's almost laughing because this
um,
is going to be so much fun for
people
the defense.
as militia, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Point up at the
Bing.
Roof
Got him.
and say there's
Tried to
militia
know.
members up there, right?
That is correct.
That's your
Ding,
opinion.
ding,
You have
ding.
no, you didn't talk to any of them about. I'll ask it to you this way. You had no information that Mr. Rittenhouse was in any type of militia, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, you at some point say to him, he's moving the dumpster, and you say, well, I strike that. At first, you say, this whole crowd could burn you guys alive if you say the
There you go.
There you go.
That is correct.
Yep.
Why'd you say that?
I wanted to de-escalate the situation.
Was
Oh.
it getting
And I
along?
believed it.
Okay.
And that was in part because the dumpster was put out. The fire in the dumpster was put out.
That is correct. It angered the protesters at that time.
Now, did you see things that were going on that night that would be outside the realm of protesting, but more along the lines of rioting?
I would agree with that term, yes.
So you saw, you had mentioned it, and we'll talk about it. Rocks were being thrown at people, right?
I didn't witness that.
Well, you saw people throwing rocks on the roof.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
There's
I
people
didn't
on the roof.
I was told that by people on the roof that they were throwing rocks.
things.
You didn't see it.
I did not see that.
Were you aware that there were homemade gas bombs being thrown?
One of the people on the roof did say that there was a homemade gas bomb.
And
Basically,
Binger objecting
I
to
don't wanna
hearsay.
call ammonium and bleach. I don't know how they knew that, but that's what they claimed.
Objection hearsay.
And you had said to Mr. Rittenhouse, I know you're just trying to make peace. Right?
Correct.
Okay, so to be fair, he wasn't doing anything aggressively, correct?
I agree with that.
He wasn't verbally threatening anyone.
No, he was offering help.
He wasn't using his firearm in a way to scare or intimidate people by pointing it at them. Agreed?
Agreed.
Wow.
I'm glad the prosecution brought this witness. It seemed to add a lot to their case.
Glad the prosecution forgot how to object.
Video at one point.
Because that was clearly calling for speculation.
At people on the
Look at that 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, they just checked out.
Yeah.
Do you see Mr. Rittenhouse go after those people in the direction of where they're throwing the rocks and chase them?
No.
So people on the roof are arguably in direct danger because did you ever see the rocks?
I did see the rubble and people throwing rocks at the Bearcats, but
Right. So
it was concrete.
Sorry, that's right. So they weren't really.
Rubble's a
throwing
great
what you
word.
I'd see like rocks on
It's
the
a
beach.
picture.
We're talking about
Debris.
clumps of concrete that they're smashing, picking up, and then throwing it. Right.
Correct.
And knowing that, you didn't see Mr. Rittenhouse go after those people who were actually causing danger to others, right?
No, I did not.
Did you have contact with the owners of that the car source that night or the next day?
Not those 2 days, but I did see him pull up, I think, later on in that week.
The two brother, if you know.
I don't know. All I know is that whoever the owners were, they pulled up, and I briefly walked by and said something to him. I don't recall.
Mr. Harris, I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
I mean,
Can you read
what else do you
Effective.
get out of this guy? What are you
Short
going
and
to
effective.
redirect on?
Mr. Harris, the people that you saw at 59th Street Car Source that you characterized as the militia.
He wants to say the word militia.
Yeah. It was
Was the
answered
defendant
immediately.
dressed the same as them?
No, he was not.
He had on sort of an army green colored shirt, correct?
He just said no, he was not. Ask and
somewhat
answer.
Army green.
Somewhat like
He
him.
had a weapon slung around him like they did, correct?
Correct.
It was the same type of weapon.
Now
as
you're
the
going
rest
to
of
impeach
those
him
folks,
on
correct?
his impression.
I'm not really good with guns, but it seemed to be so.
He was in the same group
That's
with
your
these
witness,
guys
bro.
that you felt were militia members, correct?
That is correct.
And he was acting the same as they were, wasn't he?
For the most part, yes.
You were asked about who escalated things. Can we
He's treating him like a hostile
exhibit
witness.
18 at the 1 hour and 20
That would be
They
kind of
interview
foundation for a
us.
hostile witness.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they interview a single witness that they've called? Did
Apparently
they interview
not.
any of them?
Grosskreutz. That one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
That's
not
the
very
one.
well.
He
Apparently,
was probably prepared by a civil
Wait, is the
lawyer,
other
though.
is the other
Oh, that's
prosecutor on his
fair.
phone?
Yeah.
Good.
yes, he's on his phone. He's ordering his second breakfast.
Wouldn't
What
it be
is he-
second lunch?
Not for this guy.
Welcome to
What?
Hobbiton.
I don't know. That joke didn't even make sense.
Nope.
What is he doing on the phone right now?
I mean, to
He's
be
looking
fair,
for
he
a new
might be
job. He's on
coordinating
LinkedIn.
witness-
He's receiving
Guys-
secret instructions.
he
I don't
might
know
be
about you, but the
coordinating witnesses, but you don't do that in front of a jury. You have your
Never.
investigating officer step out
boy.
and do that. You do not
Let's
do
play
that in
from there
front of
with
the jury.
sound.
They can't be on their phones all day.
Only time I pull out my phone.
It would be
Oh, hold on.
a fucking stem.
So what is a blunt?
I could use a doobie right now.
You could use a doobie right now.
Is that a
Same.
reference to the Doobie Brothers rock and roll band?
He's filming them start a fire.
Guys want to fuck around and find out?
Hey.
You guys want to
fuck around and find out, right? Immediately
Did you
after
really
that,
want to fuck
you
around and find
basically
out?
scold that guy, don't you?
I believe, well, whatever you want to call it.
Objection relevance. This is not the defendant.
Because he was escalating it,
That is
wasn't
correct.
he? By what he was saying.
Relevance.
Yes.
You guys want to fuck around and find out. Did you interpret that as a threat towards the other people?
Pointing a gun
I
at
didn't
someone
really
isn't
think
a
about
threat.
it, but I could see how it could be interpreted that way.
And that guy's wearing an AR-15, isn't he?
He said, "I'm not good with guns." How the fuck is he
In
supposed
fact,
to?
that same guy went around back, and when those people were behind the place throwing rocks,
Objection, Your Honor.
he
Who's
said
on
to you he
trial
was going
here?
to take his gun and start shooting rounds through the fence at them, didn't he?
I don't recall or remember.
Objection hearsay.
Can we go forward on the video to about...
Yes.
You're not
Present
helping
sense
yourself.
impression, maybe?
Let's go to about one...
Nothing to do with
Thank
this.
you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
What's the relevance of this?
There were questions about what the response was to people
I
throwing
don't
rocks
know. Responsible.
of the group.
The group's not on trial.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you just got blown out in front of the jury. God,
Snaps
embarrassing.
for the judge. Snaps for the judge.
That is correct.
Nothing else.
2 snaps and a swish.
And now the DA was like, "Thank you," and sat
What about
the fuck
break?
down.
Let's take a break.
All right, time for a break.
Let's.
That's a
read
great
what
place
was
to
the
end.
trial.
That is a great
You know,
place.
maybe 350.
Man, that sucks.
Maybe.
Ending because the opposing side objected to your last question, and then you don't manage to get another question in.
You
after
can't
that.
articulate the
You
relevance.
just like nothing to try to like rehabilitate your exit.
No, I fold. Sit down.
Yeah. Hey, look, guys.
Tail between the legs. Goodbye.
You can have no planned follow-up question, but you ask him literally anything.
Something.
You say,
At least a few.
you say, look, but you would, you say something along the lines of, "God, I don't even know how to do this. Like, honestly, because I'm trying to struggle. But as Binger, you've got to say something along the lines of, so you didn't know he was with the militia, but or you didn't know he was dressed the same, but he looked like he was with those guys. Isn't that fair? Something. You got to
Why
ask.
did you say that?
something.
Why did you say
Right.
it then? If you're now saying it
Right.
in hindsight, why did you say it then? Something.
Yeah.
But
Where
he
you
started
can-
wandering down a path. He folds every time he gets objected to.
That's why I was saying
Yeah.
earlier,
Used to
you
people
got to
challenging
object to
him.
this guy.
That guy
Object
must
to
be
this
fun
guy.
to date.
Carpet bomb.
Actually, I'd like to go to this restaurant, not that
Do tell.
restaurant. No!
Existential,
For a sec, would you?
existential crisis.
They're
on that.
approaching.
Here we
Ooh,
go.
What's happening? What's
Mindset.
happening?
Please turn the mic
They just
on.
had a little combo there.
Please turn the mic on.
Come on.
Are we talking about a directed verdict here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, we got a Canadian here. Since there's no audio, let me bring him
Oh,
back in.
yeah, people.
Viva! Welcome
Viva!
back.
I
Are they
figured.
done with
brother.
witnesses? Is the prosecution done with witnesses? Is
I
that
don't
possible?
know.
They've got to be close. They've got to be close. There's not. I thought Gage was going to be their last witness. Because to me, you'd want to
thought so
leave
too.
your strongest witness last, but they've
except that he
padded it
imploded.
out.
He got
Yeah,
nuked.
I think they have to.
Yeah, but they
have
couldn't
to
have-
dilute they have to dilute the damage that Grosskreutz did by calling up a bunch of other witnesses to make everyone forget about the admission
Exactly.
that he only shot him when he pointed his gun and
Right.
approached him to kill him to defend his life. Oh,
Did the
and by
judge
way,
call them up, or did the prosecution ask to approach? I didn't see.
The judge.
We were
I
making fun.
couldn't tell.
The
Yeah,
judge
they-
pulled them up.
Do you guys think a directed verdict is likely?
I think it's becoming more plausible by the minute at this
Wow.
point. I would never say a directed verdict is likely.
Never. I would never say it's likely.
What is the-
But I mean,
conceptually, we know what it is, but what is the term? Is it that the judge directs the verdict without going through the jury? Like, what's the
Yes.
actual?
yes.
basically, think of it as a summary judgment. We
Legally,
admit
the
to all
jury
these
cannot
facts.
find this. The jury cannot legally find this on the facts that are here. Therefore, there's no other verdict they could reach because they would be wrong on the law if they came up with any.
Like if they had him on video pointing a gun at him, and Kyle shot him.
Well, no, I say conceptually, I understand. It's just like the term directed. I see what you're doing, Ty.
I'm just asking.
See, it's interesting. In California, they don't call it directed verdict at that point. They do motions to dismiss at that point.
Call it prosecutor.
Yeah. So after the prosecution's case in chief, it's a motion to dismiss. after the defense's case in chief, they can motion for motion to dismiss or directive verdict at that point in time, or both at that point in time. And then after the jury renders its verdict, you can motion for a JNOV, which is a judgment notwithstanding of the verdict. And again, at the beginning of this trial, I thought, no way is that possible in a high profile case like this. But the prosecution has failed to bring relevant facts that are necessary to establish. And remembering the legal standard in Wisconsin is not that the defendant has a duty to prove by a preponderance of the evidence their self-defense claim, which is what it would be in a stand your ground case, say in Louisiana or something like that. But in Wisconsin, the prosecution has a duty to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that there is no self-defense claim. So the prosecution has to prove this case. And if they do not bring sufficient facts to prove that case, you could actually get a directive verdict.
Their own witnesses have shown that there was reason for self-defense.
Can the judge, I'm wondering, can a judge do it sua sponte? Can a judge, after having heard all of this, say, I'm not even going to let this go to a jury, or does it have to be a motion of the defendant?
I don't know.
But the defense will make that motion. I mean,
the defense normally makes that motion as a matter of course, even if there's no reasonable thing that it would stand, just not only to save it on appeal, but just as a matter of practice.
Yeah, so the defense is going to make that motion. As for sua sponte, in the law, in the actual law about directive verdicts and motions to dismiss in Wisconsin, in the statute, there is nothing about sua sponte. It does not say the court on its own motion may do this. That doesn't mean that they can't under case law. I just haven't seen it.
And I was trying to get out, Nick, just a vlog to summarize the day with the highlights of you guys reacting to some of this stuff. I may not get it out, but I'm going live with Barnes at 7 o'clock tonight, and we're going to do the recap for those who have not had 6 hours and 15 minutes to watch this masterful live commentary. It's been phenomenal to watch.
It's only 6 a.m. here. It's all good.
Look,
I love that we've got so many time zones represented.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. for me.
People do appreciate that Legal Mindset and Legal Bites are in foreign countries.